The four portion,
Yeah.
they say that 3 days, when Genesis 17 and 18, when Abraham and Ishmael got circumcised, and then when the 3 days of change of them, they say that 3 days into a trip after that circumcised. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Where is that coming from? Is that from another book?
It's from tradition.
Where?
Tradition.
Where is that like written down in a certain book? Is it tradition?
Yeah.
Turn the brass over.
Trying to heat it up on top. Or just keep checking on it. As soon as it's ready, we should be done by announcements by then. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Well, hello.
Not the shofar again.
Or finishing up.
I know you good.
I don't know about all that.
Mom, are you ready for announcements? Is the bottom warm already, Trim?
A little bit.
All right, we're just trying to take the edge off of it.
It's not like-
Oh, no.
It's too much chest.
We have a problem in the congregation. His name is David. Someone handed, no.
Corban, he's gonna be the sacrificial lamb.
Today, we're going to talk about laying down your life for your brethren.
No, you just say laying down your life, period.
No. The only way you get away with that stuff is to dress it up. You gotta dress it up, right? Well, while my mom's preparing, again, we are gonna do something at the house on Thursday, 1 o'clock. Everyone's invited. All
Oh,
right,
now you're inviting me? Before you said no.
But you have to bring your own chair, because we don't have that.
super candid.
We don't have that.
Sorry.
We don't have that chair over here.
Don't feel too bad. I didn't find out till today.
so I have a question. New moon is next Friday night. We have meetings throughout the day, which we have not scheduled officially yet, but I'll send them out tomorrow or something. Is there anyone actually going to come to a new moon meeting on the Friday during Thanksgiving weekend? You're not in any of the meetings. Friday night, you're coming.
Julie, put your hand down.
We're not talking about Friday night. We're still doing Friday night. I'm talking about the business meetings, like David. We don't need the meeting for the next 5 months. Trina, I talk to you every day.
We live together.
Mom, is there any of the meetings that you need? Paul, do you need the Goshen meeting, the extra Goshen meeting on Friday next week?
Here?
No, the one online. Between I'm not talking about me, you and my mom. Everyone, all the meetings most of them have canceled.
Oh.
And
Oh, are you asking,
Whether you want that meeting.
oh, you think we need it? I don't
Is there
think we need
anything
it.
new gonna be going on by
We're
then?
still
hopefully,
waiting, now, Danny is supposed to be coming in Thanksgiving, so the last message he said is, we'll see maybe if there's something that comes up right in the week,
Mhm.
he'll listen, but I don't,
he's planning on hooking up with us. He's already told me.
okay, that's great.
That leaves the only meeting that we possibly may discuss is the two-stick and the Beit Tikvah elders meeting, which, when Matthew comes down, I'll ask Matthew about Beit Tikvah. And, two sticks when Dan gets here, because Dan's supposed to be here today. I'll ask Dan about his too. Cause I don't think either one of them are gonna care that much. We might just cancel the business meetings next week. Obviously, cause everyone spent a lot of time with family. We're still gonna have New Moon. We're not canceling New Moon because that's Yah's calendar. We can't do that. But we can cancel some of our events that we normally do. All right, well, that makes that simple. Mom, you ready?
Welcome to Beit Tikvah. And we are still preparing for the greater exodus. The food for our potluck is kosher. Potluck starts at 2. Tithes and offerings are here or through PayPal or Cash App, and our prayer list is here. We are in sowing season until the new moon, correct?
No,
Till when?
2 weeks after the new moon, about
Oh, okay.
to
the full moon.
the full moon after
the
the
full
new
moon.
moon. Yes. So that also means though, we only have 3 weeks left of sowing season, guys. We are already into the winter wheat aspect of sowing season. I can't believe we're having this discussion. It just seems like the first month went by so quick. Sowing season normally seems like it lasts a little while, but this one has been quick.
Mhm.
So maybe I've been sowing so much though, it's been flying. That probably has a lot to do with it. So we need to meet at least one time in the next couple weeks, okay? So we can discuss what before Sukkot, what we're going to discuss.
Before.
I talked to Weaver before Tabernacles
Oh.
about doing something when we got back, and we haven't met yet. It's just
Okay.
I've been busy like crazy. You guys know that we started a business and everything else. It's just been a handful. So yes, if there's something you've been putting off, your time of putting it off should be ending. Or at least get it started, have a meeting, do something. All right.
It is the 23rd of the 8th month, according to Yah's timing. This Thursday, there is no warring in the spirit. Correct?
It is Thanksgiving night. That is why.
And you already talked about Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Steve is going to be at Bishop Howard's at 1 p.m. on the 27th, this Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Next Sunday. Okay, I'm gonna ask for help though. Bishop Howard has requested a mid-rosh format next Sunday about Sukkot and the importance of Sukkot and the joy that we do and what do we actually do during Sukkot. And they want to know that because they're trying to learn for next year. And I told them that's what we do. We'd sit around and we talk about it. And so it's going to be less preachy, teachy, and more discussional based.
You're gonna go from what, 1 to 3 or so?
I think it starts at 1. What time did I say?
1.
Yeah, we start at 1.
So you think
It'll be over by 3.
Okay. I'll just be late to work and I can see you late.
Yeah. So I need support. If we want to give a real vision of Sukkot, one person's vision does not work for Sukkot.
27th, right? And
Next Sunday.
they like everyone there likes food. We're gonna bring things with us, or that's usually
No.
what they do. They have a little something afterwards.
That's
up to them.
we've only done that on we did that during Pesach, and we did it on another feast day on trumpets.
Yeah, it's not. I just mentioned that because it's not. I'm not feeling like it's necessary or anything. It's only 2 hours.
Hey,
Right.
You know,
Yeah, that's something we just did on, because they were feast days for them.
Right.
Then, their calendar is not our calendar. They don't have that down. They don't understand all that stuff yet, so.
it's okay, yeah.
Yeah,
What-
they are working on it and they're getting better with it every day, so. They just want to get a general overview about the feast and how it was for us, what we did, and definitely, since we went to 2 different places this year, it would be great to at least have somebody from the other Sukkot, be there. Right, it would be a huge benefit.
Somebody from the Dakota that went to
Man,
Myrtle Beach.
Dan, I'm gonna be there. I went to Myrtle Beach,
Yeah.
so someone that went to
Hold on.
Dan's, cause we did different things. And that's fine, so we don't regulate and control that stuff. So,
I try to set that aside. I like to go. I think it'd be good. Maybe happy to go view this and bring it inside. This thing.
Yeah, that would be
Also
great.
good as far as security.
yeah, one of my first Dakotas I was doing when we did it as a group, I think I did we had a special service like every night, and we, one year we had like 4 services a day. Every 2 hours, we had another teacher basically, and we just all rotated.
We've done a lot of different.
We've done it so many different ways, it's unreal. That's why it's funny to me when someone says, "You're not doing it right." I'm like, what are you talking about? That's what happens is someone thinks it has to be done certain ways. A lot of times I just do whatever they think because I don't, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. My main thing is that we celebrate it. The details about how are not as important to me as the fact that we're together in unity. It's supposed to be a joy, and
And I wanna add something to that. I think, where the Lord is leading us, we want to have real revelation from Jehovah.
mhm,
What he wants, because one real, to me, one real key is if you, for every feast time, there are words, you can go right by through the scripture, what the word
Ooh,
says
excuse
about that particular season, but then you go to Jehovah to get the real revelation for what he wants.
Let's
For the
spirit
group.
water.
But it's not, it's more than just, a lot of people just, when we get there, we did it, they have, everyone has their own way of celebrating. But to me, I think they could miss it. We really want revelation from on high, on what he
So-
wants for this given Sukkot, what he's speaking to us.
so
Without rule.
I have a question. I'm glad you brought that up. So this year, and normally so the first year Sukkot symbolizes Yeshua at the bride chamber. What happens the first night of a wedding?
They consummate the
They
wedding.
consummate the
There
wedding.
you go.
And they made fellowship, and so now it used to be everyone would hang out for the next 7 days right after the wedding, and they would party. It'd be an 8-day party, right, which we do during Sukkot. But now people take their day and then they take 7 days and go on vacation. They go on their honeymoon, right? So that's where that tradition comes from. But now, no, not everyone else goes with them anymore, right? So on consummation on the first day of Sukkot every year, I believe Yeshua to give me a word that we become intimate, right? And he consummates our marriage every year and gives me a word. I got a personal word this year that I'm still walking out, right?
Yeah, and that's, to me, that was a point on.
Yeah, and that's a-
real thing is the revelation, because otherwise it could just be no different than keeping any celebration as just a certain thing you do, this tradition, and we do it because our parents did, our grandparents did, that's the way we do it. You miss the whole point if that's all you're doing.
So the question is, how many pressed in and got at least a personal word during Sukkot from the Ruach? Not from,
Right.
I mean, I know we all learn stuff during Sukkot because we're midrash and stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about. That stuff is fantastic. But I want to make sure that everyone has oil in their lamp.
And another thing is, if it's the consummation of the wedding, it's intimacy, knowing him, it's the knowing him, we will see him as he is, so that's revelation. You can't know him intimately without that revelation. That's what we should be seeking, right?
Well,
Right.
and the bride,
Huh?
the bride prepares herself for that moment. I know,
Yeah.
I mean, before I got married to Steven, just leading up to that point, there was a lot of preparation involved.
Yes.
And it takes two to
So,
consummate, so
Mhm.
it's not, so we prepare our hearts and we position ourselves to hear from our King. He wants a willing participant.
Yes.
He's not,
we went over this in class a little bit today. There's the 10 virgins, 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. 10 virgins, a virgin body, a virgin woman represents an assembly, right? It represents us because we're supposed to be a spotless bride, right? The virgins, all that means is virgin is they're not messing around with other Elohims. They're not messing around with other gods. So he's basically saying if you have other gods in your life, you're not even listed here. You're not even part of the foolish virgins.
There you go.
You're not a virgin. Right?
there.
You understand that? If you're messing around with other Elohims, you are not a virgin. You're not even in the eligible. When the king is coming to give his rose to choose his 5 brides, you're not even in the mix.
Just saying.
Sorry for the bachelor bachelorette referral.
Just saying.
May not even catch the flowers.
I don't know.
Might be pretty far back there.
So-
You come in without the wedding garment.
So you have people that have removed the Elohims out of their life, but they really don't have any oil in their lamp. So when I say I want to make sure that people have oil in their lamp, you have to have that intimate relationship and be hearing from the rock. He says, my sheep know my voice. He doesn't say, my sheep know my word. Although they should know his word. He says, because sheep are dumb, right? So, all right.
Continue in his word.
But my sheep know my voice. You should be able to hear his voice.
And it says also, and they won't follow another.
They won't follow another. They wouldn't be a virgin if they did.
That's right. Goes back to the initial point.
Mm-hmm.
Their oil wasn't empty. This is full of God.
What now?
They had some oil. Ooh, you're right. They did. The way is narrow. The straight and narrow. Some people think they're getting in and they're not. That's my point. And when it comes down to it, y'all ain't borrowing my oil. I'm not giving it to you. Because the parable says not to. Because I want to make sure I have enough oil. And when it comes to my salvation and my eternity with my king, I'm not willing to give that to anybody. All right?
Yeah, I know something that he continues to speak to me, that he has to be my everything. He has to be the one who fulfills me, the one who satisfies me. I can't look to anyone on this planet.
Even me. I mean,
So
Because
right
at
after,
the end
the
of,
weight just comes off
Yeah.
my neck.
well, at the end of the day, we have to be able to stand with our king. There could be a day and time where you're not there, or I'm not there. I have to put my hope in him and not people, because people are gonna highly disappoint me.
so
But he doesn't.
according to ancient Jewish marriage customs, and I don't know, maybe some of the ultra orthodox still do it, but of course they meet under the
Check that bread.
and the huppah represents
You're good.
they're forming a house.
Mhm.
It's a house in formation. Right?
Mhm.
Of course, Yeshua said, "In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it was not so, I would have told you so.
Right.
But I go away to prepare a place for you. Where I am, you may be also." And then right after that, he goes in, "Keep my commandments." Goes right into that in the next verses.
Mhm.
Keeping his commandments.
Yeah.
That's how you get into that place. So it's spelled out. That was in
It's
John
spelled out.
14, I think.
Yeah, the combination of the two. We gotta be walking out both, man. Spirit and in truth. It's we have to do both. Yeah, in Revelation, the book of Revelation, right? It says Hasatan is trying to devour and attack who? The bride, right? And people are talking about, oh, all this persecution we're about to go through. Most of the people that are saying they're about to go through persecution are not going to go through persecution. You remember, you're going to have a false antichrist around who they're going to return and worship. It said the remnant is described, defined in the book of Revelation. Those that follow after Yeshua and keep his commandments.
In Second Thessalonians, I think it says also, it talks about how they were deceived because they did not have the love of the truth.
Yeah,
Can you help me?
wow, yeah,
They did not love the truth. Yeah.
Right? It's
right,
both, right? We gotta love the truth.
wow.
Ryan, can you help as well? Are you okay with that? I can pour it. I mean, unless you guys, someone wants to pour it. I jack up the Hebrew on the
You ever hear that
this all the time. I do it in English. So if someone wants to do it in Hebrew, now would be
truth
the
is not
time.
a virtue? It's not a.
Do you want to do the blessing in Hebrew? You okay with that? Do you know him?
It's just not a
Too?
virtue today.
You want to do the bread? You can do the.
I can do this.
You want this?
Who wants, grape juice?
I'll help with that. How many grape juice?
One? Always gotta do one.
And there was one.
I know my limits, and that's my limit.
1, 2, 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7. Just pour a little at first to make sure we got enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of those is for. Oh. Oh, wait,
And the
hold on.
last one for you.
Hold on. No. This is hers. Don't pour yet. Don't pour yet.
You.
Oh, it's just me.
That will be for him.
Oh, yeah, that's yours. That's yours. Here's one. You hand that salt to Ryan.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam right for you.
Behind.
L'chaim.
There's a trash can right underneath you. You can set it here if you want.
Okay, sorry.
David, you want to put this in the fridge? Yeah. Second. Should have waited, my bad.
That's pretty good. That's a weighty loaf right there. Looks good.
It's a weighty loaf.
Yeah.
That food where it's supposed to be on?
No,
I thought it turned off. I don't know why it's sticking.
yes, turn that off. So we don't, a fire doesn't erupt while we're doing the kiddush. That would be bad.
The light turned off, or maybe, well, I guess the light,
Toast on the left side.
the off button
And then
is on the
switch the-
right.
The heater down.
He knows how to work it. They do it all the time.
Oh,
It's just a little fun.
Well,
It's a little fun.
they must stick it.
So.
I'm new to this.
It's a blessing.
Huh?
That toaster is a blessing.
G-Pause toaster.
Yeah, I claim it.
It blesses everyone.
They'll make some really good.
David, you coming back?
W. Come and enjoy the.
And David was not.
Enjoy the bread of life. Rukata Yehovah, Melech Halolam, Hamosi Lechem, Min Haaretz. Blessed are you, Yehovah, King of the universe, who brings forth the bread from the
And Yeshua, the bread.
Yeshua HaMashiach, bread of life.
Amen.
Throw it, throw it, throw it.
So. There you go.
You're salty. Don't be salty, David.
It's been-
Figure that laugh.
Think I might.
Okay, Harold.
I know my name.
Steven scared me. The last night when you scared me? Standing in the corner.
What were you hiding?
Yeah, I was so scared. You scream.
I'll have like bud.
Keeping her on her toes.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Just messing with her. I didn't mean to scare her. That was not wrong.
You're just super quiet.
I was standing outside the bathroom and she opened the door and I was standing there. That's all that happened. And she freaked out. The lights were off, of course, because, you know, we were sitting there watching a video or so. She might have screamed and her heart fluttered a while.
Place for you to hide.
Oh, wow. Don't sit it there then.
You wanna put it back?
I'll get him.
There you go.
I'll get him.
David, this one open. Jamie, do you want to run this back in?
Put it on the table.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, Kadesha. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Hey, I know your ride wasn't feeling good today, so they're not here. Did you buy a ticket for the movie? I wanted to make sure that does one of us need to come pick you up?
No, I decided I wasn't gonna go.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you didn't buy one and then you didn't have a ride to get here.
Now I've seen season 2 though. I wouldn't see the second one because I had realized I didn't know there was a second one.
Okay. JC, all right, well, I just wanted to make sure, if we had to send someone to get you, we would, you know that.
Oh, thank you.
All right,
Well, you gotta let me.
David's so silly. All right,
You know what?
there's y'all. What we got next? Trina
Everyone.
was come through by oh, that's not what you were singing.
Steven is singing today. That should give us.
So
all-
everyone get out your earbuds.
Go back to the phone. You guys help with the auto tune. When you sing.
See, Ryan already knew, that's why he had to turn off song.
Yeah. Got the auto tune in my box there. Everyone with beats.
Like, where did this chair come from? I forgot.
It's my fault.
From class. You want me to mess with everyone? Today in class, we learned that bad is good.
We're at Columbus Public School. We're in Hebrew. The word, Beit, dollar. So we have a house for. Oh, you were doing the Hebrew today? Yeah, we were doing. That was, one part. My mom teaches. She does a pick of that. Okay, yeah.
Is anybody ready to praise Jehovah?
Oh, me.
Are you ready?
Yes. Let's do it.
Can I get a whoop whoop? Can I get a whoop? Can I get a whoop? Yeah. Does anybody have a shofar?
Back, listener.
Yes.
Yes.
Shofar, so good.
Kadesha, we wish you were here. Okay, so I'm just gonna play, you know,
I know. I wish I was too.
let's just,
Who left that chicken in here?
you know, you want to stand up and give him some praise?
Praise
You
him,
be
praise God.
grateful?
Yeah.
I know that he came to my rescue. He makes me want to dance. I want to make him dance, you know? I want to make him dance. Yeah, I mean, you go first. Oh, that's a good song. I like that. You know, I'm just gonna play all, that was gonna play loud. I'm just gonna play all, just listen to the words. If you don't know it, just express to him your love, however you want to express to him your gratitude, you know? What he's done for you.
Let your kingdom come in this place. Let your river flow in this place. Let your glory come and fill this place. Let your kingdom come in this place. Let your river flow in this place. Let your glory come and fill this place. It's you that we want. It's you that we love. It's So let your kingdom come in this place. Let your river flow in this place. Let your glory come and fill this place. Come and fill this place. Let your kingdom come in this place. Let your river flow in this place. Let your glory come and fill this place. It's you that we love. It's you that we love. And we worship. It's you that we love. It's you. of the Lord comes upon my heart, I will dance like David danced.
Worship our David.
When the Spirit of the Lord comes upon my heart, I will dance like David danced. I will dance, I will dance, I will dance like David danced. I will dance, I will dance, I will dance like David danced. Spirit of the Lord comes upon my heart, I will dance like David danced. When the Spirit of the Lord comes upon my heart, I will dance like David danced. And I will dance, I will dance, I will dance like David danced. I will dance, I will dance, I will dance like David danced. Like David sang, I will sing, I will sing, I will sing like David sang. I will dance, I will dance, I will dance like David danced. I will dance, I will dance, I will dance like David danced.
You're worthy of our dance, hallelujah. You're worthy of our song. You're worthy of our praise.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לילה 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 לילה. הנה מה טוב, הנה
unity. Ooh, how lovely. How lovely it is. Ooh, y'all done? We're just getting started. Can we just in unity one more time just lift up a praise to the King in unity?
Praise God.
You're worthy of our praise. You're worthy of every dance, every praise, every shout, every song.
Love kindness endures forever. Faithfulness to all generations.
Oh no, she done broke out the cowbell.
More cowbell. We always need more cowbell. Hallelujah.
All right, there's y'all. What'd you guys get last night? Who made it last night? Huh?
We will see.
What'd you read last night?
Dan and Michelle came
One.
through.
Exodus 1.
Just one?
Exodus 1.
The chapter reps, the chapter one.
Long
Okay.
discussions.
I see.
Trails.
Only one chapter. You definitely had some large discussions. All right, we're gonna go to Acts chapter 11. I'm gonna go to put my laptop up.
Oh boy. It's on now.
Yep. Acts chapter 11. The first section is gonna be 1 through 18. Who wants to read first? Father, have your way.
The emissaries and brothers who were in Yehuda heard that the nations also received the word of Elohim. And Kepha went up to Jerusalem, and those of circumcision were contending with him. You went into uncircumcised men and ate with them. But Kepha began and set it forth in order, saying, I was in the city of Jaffa praying, and in a trance I saw a vision, a certain vessel descending like a great sheet, let down from the heaven by four corners, and it came to me. Having looked into it, I perceived and saw four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping creatures, and birds of heaven. And I heard a voice saying to me, Rise up, Kepha, slay and eat. But I said, Not at all, master, because whatever is common or unclean has never entered into my mouth. And a voice answered me again from the heaven, What Elohim has cleansed, you do not consider common. And this took place 3 times, and all were drawn up again into the heaven. And see, immediately 3 men stood before the house where I was, having been sent to me from Caesarea. And
Caesarea.
And the Spirit said to me to go with them, not doubting at all. And these 6 brothers also went with me, and we went into the man's house. And he told us how he had seen a messenger standing in his house, who said to him, Send men to Jaffa, and call for Shimon, who is also called Kepha, and who shall speak to you with word by which you shall be saved, you and all your house. And as I began to speak, the set-apart spirit fell upon them and upon us at the beginning. And I remembered the word of the master, how he said, Yohanan indeed immersed in water, but you shall be immersed in the set-apart spirit. And so if Elohim gave them the same gift as he gave us, when we believed on the master, Yeshua Mashiach, then how was I able to withstand Elohim? And having heard this, they were silent and praised Elohim, saying that Elohim is indeed also given to the nations repentance to life.
Oh, that blasted sheet story. All right.
They were,
Nope.
they were talking about this in the radio.
What they say on the radio.
Yeah. What they always say.
I'm sorry, I just don't get it. It's, I guess, beyond my comprehension, like, with a lot of things lately, but I just don't get it. I just don't, do they not read the word?
They
Is
read
it
parts
all
of it.
Selective reading?
It's selective, yes.
Well, and I think so too, that people read it with their own understanding. You have to get understanding. of
What their
each other
pastor said.
throughout. He
All right,
has to read-
so we're not gonna jump around it. So we're gonna get there in chapter 12, right? Where Peter says the Lord has taught me and gives the interpretation. Let's just go there real quick.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. In other words, this is gonna hone in on that and give the explanation, the real explanation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right.
It's 12 or 13, sorry. Where's it at, guys?
Is it 12 or 13?
Interpretation of the
Well, we gotta find it first. I don't have it memorized, sorry. Mhm. Where'd it go, guys? I know it's there. I read it not too long ago, like this week. Or is this the explanation? It is, isn't it? Maybe.
What are the-
Yeah, I thought 11 was there.
It is, I think.
There might be another one.
I'm looking.
But he's talking about it.
Parts of
He's
chapter-
given the Gentiles,
Yeah,
he's granted repentance to them.
all right, verse 11, chapter 10. It says the explanation, sorry.
It also reiterates it in chapter 13, verse 47.
What's that? Read that one real quick.
Chapter 13, it says, for so the master has commanded us, I have set, this is a quote from Yeshayahu 49. I have set to you to be a light to the nations, that you should be for deliverance to the ends of the earth. So that's his explanation before the Jews, because they were speaking evil of Shaul there. But yeah, go back to 11. That's the
So this is Kifa, right? So you have this giant sheet, right? Let's just say a sheet. You have all these, let's say a snake, what is it, an eagle? I don't know why I'm trying to draw these. That's a terrible reason. Let's just say like this.
I can eat, yeah, but eat.
You have all these animals on there, right?
What's the middle one?
It's called David. Have you ever heard of it? So look, you have all these sheep. If the sheep comes down and pastors overworld say that we're allowed to eat anything now. But here he's saying in verse 11 that it's talking about he's made the Gentiles clean. Right? It has nothing to do. So here's the other thing, the animals, right? Like for instance, what's the animal over America?
Eagle.
Is eagle clean?
No.
Okay, name another country. What's Russia?
Bear. No.
Is the bear clean? What about Greek? What's theirs? The leopard?
Yeah.
All right, all these things, they're all unclean. What's Israel's?
A lion?
Some people would say lion,
I
right?
don't know.
Neither, none of them. Right, it's, well, it could be a dove. Right, look at, someone look it up. What's the national animal of Israel?
Wow. I never even thought of it.
Well, God doesn't contradict himself. So if he made a law in the Old Testament, why would he contradict it in the New Testament?
Well said.
Well, because
At the back door, so the front
it's
door.
taught that
We're talking about
King
Keith
Hail
knocking
said-
on the door, and there you are.
The
the
gazelle,
law.
The gazelle.
Gazelle.
the Israeli gazelle.
What's a gazelle? Is it edible?
Yeah.
It's
I
clean.
guess it is.
No, it's clean. It's like a deer,
True.
right? Yeah, it does all this stuff. So
So that's Israel.
when he said, yes, so this is the interpretation he's saying is, look,
What's the verse again?
in verse 11, it says,
What is the chapter 10, did you say?
10, what is it, 8? Sorry. Was the original vision? No, it's not 10:8, it's 8.
No, not the original. The interpretation verse is chapter and verse. Right?
So here's what they're discussing, right? Verse 2, and when Kepha was come up to Jerusalem, they that of the circumcision contended with him, saying, thou wentest to men uncircumcised. So it's dealing with Gentiles. This is the subject of the chapter, right? But Kepha rehearsed the matter from the beginning, expounded it by order unto them, saying, I was in the city Joppa, praying in a trance. I saw a vision, a certain vessel descended. There's the vessel. As it had been a great sheet laid down from heaven by four corners, and it came even to me. Upon that which when I had fastened my eyes, I considered and saw four-footed beasts of the earth and wild beasts, and creeping things and fowls of the air. And I heard a voice saying unto me, arise, Peter, slay and eat. So he's reminding them of so when they're asking him, why did you eat with uncircumcised Gentiles? His response is this dream. Right?
Yeah, verse 16, it says, and I remember the word of the master. Right there. It's how he said.
But let's not jump ahead.
Okay.
Verse 8, but I said, not so, Lord, for nothing common or unclean. So all these animals are common and unclean, right? Has any time entered into my mouth, but the voice answered me again from heaven, what Elohim has cleansed, thou shalt not call thou common. So you notice, what Yah has cleansed, thou shalt not call common. First of all, what's common?
What's the big one?
Oh, good question.
Oh,
What's
no.
that square thing you keep pointing to over on the left?
The blanket.
The blanket.
With all the.
It's a sheet. Well, here it's a sheet. Shared by all. Profane. Konos. So what definition of common, right? So if you eat chicken is that's probably a bad example. If you eat cow, it's clean. It's supposed to be clean, right? But if you eat cow at a barbecue restaurant that serves pork out of the same thing, that is called common. Keith is saying here, a follower of Yeshua, that he has never eaten anything even common. For people that get offended by such things, this is what Kiefer was saying. I'm never going to Taco Bell. Taco Bell doesn't have shrimp or anything, does it? No, so maybe Taco Bell wouldn't matter, but I would never go to McDonald's. I would never go to any of these pork places that serve pork. They would never even go.
How about the pork?
No, that would not be, no, definitely not.
They have chicken there? They have chicken there, right?
Now, notice what Elohim says though. Elohim has, don't, listen, but the voice answered me again from heaven, what Elohim has cleansed, that call not thou common. He didn't say, to be clear, that the snake is all of a sudden clean. That's not what he said. He's saying out of these animals, the ones you are calling common, is a clean animal, but it's common. It's been mixed in among the nations, right?
Makes a distinction there in the verse. It says common or unclean. So this is a distinction between the two. You're saying, you
Which
see,
verse is that?
see that in Acts 11, verse 8.
He's talking about, and the Lord was responding. He didn't respond to the unclean thing even. He
No.
responds to the common thing.
That's right.
I think that's because in the nations you have all these unclean animals, right? But some of them are just common. They're not unclean. You guys get what I'm saying? So look, okay. I'm trying to turn this. I'm about to get that shot. I just want to make sure you can see.
Yes,
So,
this is to the point of.
If I go somewhere tomorrow with Paul to go to church, there's some people, there's a lot of things that are in the church that are unclean. Especially when it comes to paganism, right? But because we go there and we sit with some people there or that go there, doesn't mean we should not be calling them common because they've mixed in with those people that are unclean.
Yeah, I'm getting, I see what you're saying.
Because there is a remnant in the church that is actually, that most Hebrews would call at least common, but he's saying I've made them clean.
Good point. Excellent.
They're not them. Just because you see them around them does not mean they're them.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's a point you very seldom hear, but that's a very big point. If you look at the understanding of common, I mean, just Jewish tradition, you know, you have your common dishes and you don't mix it. It's the mixture. It's the mixture.
And the mixture,
yeah.
And
there's a difference between
Yeah.
common and which is, this is good. Keep going.
And look, I can go into details about people I know that are in the church that I would say is more common than unclean.
Right.
If you
So
know
there's
them.
a distinction. There's a distinction.
There are people in the church that keep the feast.
Right.
They may not know everything, but they keep the feast.
Right.
Some of them keep Shabbat in
Yeah.
church.
Right.
They don't know people like us even exist. I mean, look around. We're not that big. There's a lot of people that don't know we exist. Right? This is like a remnant move, right? But you understand this. He's dealing with not making things from unclean to clean, even because some things are still unclean. And this is the problem with the hippie Jesus movement, is they act like everything's clean now. Right? Isn't that what they do? Well, he made all things clean. No, he didn't. Your homosexuality is not clean. You dressing up like a drag queen is not clean.
Right.
It's still unclean.
Right.
But just because someone's standing next to you doesn't mean they're unclean.
Right.
You might have someone that, look, we were in the East Flea Market, Sean and I, and a lady comes, we're in there, we're surrounded by Muslims, right? It's Friday, so they all go run off for prayer, right? On Friday, because that's the Shabbat, right? And so, if you didn't know that, it's Friday's the day, right? So we're there, and when the husbands leave, they would leave their wives in charge of their booths to watch their stuff. If they had a wife, if not, they would just shut down, right? And so no. Well, it's not, they weren't exactly devout. When people weren't looking, they were selling porn and all kinds of stuff. Whatever, it's a religious thing.
The wives weren't allowed to go.
Maybe the wives weren't allowed. I didn't get into all that. I just know the wives.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
Women are necessarily treated.
Hey, guys, let's not go down that rabbit hole. I go down a lot of rabbit holes. Let's not go down that. All right. It's all against the whole point. Listen, when they would go, their wives would stay, and their wives would come into our booth. And we preach the gospel to them, and we'd give them a Bible, and they had the big, what is it called?
Burqa.
They'd have a burqa on, and they would stick the Bible up their burqa and hide it underneath their burqa.
Great job.
So when their husbands would leave every day, they'd reach down and pull out a Bible and actually read it. That's what was going on in the East Flea Market, right? But see, what would happen is the woman would confess. Because she's a Muslim. She's coming into our booth, and she goes, I don't actually agree with them. This is all I know. That's what they would say with their mouths. They're not, this is not me interpreting. This is what they were saying.
They almost hold them captive. Wow.
Yeah, they were like, I know this isn't it, but this is all I know. And so they're trying to follow God the best way they can. And that's all they know. But as soon as they heard the truth, oh, give me that bottle. I want that. Right? So look, what I'm saying is, Islam is unclean. But there were people mixed in that really weren't following it. They just raised on the side. You know, the husband's threatening them, or they're going to chop their head off. I mean, that does happen, right? All these things were coming in. As soon as they heard the truth, those that we would call common, because they're on a dirty plate that's been used for uncleanliness, we would automatically just reject them instead of receiving them. And this is what Kiva is talking about. When he said, Elohim told me, don't call things that he made clean common. Don't do that. It's an instruction from the Most High not to do that junk. But yet today we still do it. We see people and who they're around and we just assume they're unclean like the person they're with. Maybe they don't even know they're unclean. I mean, if you saw who I hung around with, y'all would think I was the devil. Right? But you can't make assumptions off of that. That's why we don't know who's going to respond to the gospel and who's not going to respond to the gospel. It's our job to preach the gospel. Go preach it, brother. Right? So it's talking about, I want to be clear, this is what he's telling us the interpretation and has nothing to do with food. Nothing to do with food. But this is the number one verse people talk about with the end of the dietary law. They go here. The scripture's not even talking about it. It's talking about men he had made clean from the nations. Who's going to argue with Kiva? Because that's who they're arguing with, because Kiva's giving the example here in chapter 11.
It wasn't even Paul.
It wasn't even Paul. I just pointed out, right? Where do we leave off? Thou shalt not call thou common when he's clean. And this was done 3 times. So he had to tell me 3 times because it's Kiva. Right? It's all right if you
There's a pattern there.
hey, look, if you feel like Yaz had to tell you multiple times some things, you're not alone. Even Kiva had to be told.
My version said something else. But
What does yours say?
No, it just says this is New American Standard, says what God has cleansed, no longer consider unholy. But yours says common, right, in place of that. So
Yeah, but unholy and common could be interpreted the same. That's not.
I mean, this does say,
Unholy might
this
be better.
version does say cleansed.
Well, this says too.
Okay, but it does, it's.
This is what Elohim has cleansed. It's the same.
But Jehovah has cleansed, no longer consider unholy.
Unholy or
It
common.
has to do with what you're really talking
So
about.
and because common and holy and from an English standpoint is to set apart. And when something is common, it's not set apart.
Right.
It's really the same word. And so the interpretation goes either way.
People who say unholy means something different from just being common.
I would agree. Me and Matthew have actually talked about this subject, I think, with some of these words, like the unholy
When you
thing.
talk about that in the Christian church, saying holy versus unholy, you're thinking opposites, not something.
Yeah, because they're coming from an English perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But holy means what? To be set apart.
Set apart.
which most people
Set
would
apart.
not say is what it means.
I would say
I know, but.
it's set apart unto Yehovah, because to be set apart unto Yehovah, I think is implied. The two on Yehovah is
This is a
implied.
very, very important distinction here, because in the Jewish cultural mindset, that whole thing goes all the way through.
Mhm.
Clean dishes, unclear, your common, and and your holy, your separation of common and it goes to what you're saying. It's all the way through the tradition. It speaks to that.
Right. This is referring to something that Yeshua has done here.
Set apart, again, set apart.
He's made a way for Gentiles to be grafted back, and he came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? Those that were cast into the nations. He has made provision to bring them back in. And that's why you have Acts 15 saying, look, he accused the Pharisees of blocking the way. Right? I'm not the only one in here that knows that, right? He's accusing them of blocking in the way. He said, you don't even go in yourselves. but you block the way. It's even worse. You don't just block it, you don't go in yourselves.
Because they created commandments around the commandments.
They add. There are some added commandments, right? And so I'm not gonna get into all those added commandments. It's tuck and note is where I'd go with it. But well, traditions aren't necessary. Yeah, that's not. Not all traditions. Some traditions are like, for instance, some of the oral traditions of the feast are actually the living commandments that he's talking about in the living. So that's not, you don't want to go, the word tradition can be taken so many different ways. So I'm just clarifying because we're getting into a very clear thing. So when he's saying don't common or unholy, it is the same word. To be common is unholy. You're not set apart because it says they come out from among them.
Right.
We are supposed to be a holy people, which is a set apart people. Right? We're supposed to be unique, peculiar. Right? When you're common, and this is, I'll say this openly. This is my problem with a lot of Christianity. Not all Christianity. Like I said, I'm not calling it all, I'm not calling it unclean. Right? There's some unclean stuff in it. There's a lot of common stuff in it. So I told, when Kavod went into full-time ministry, right, he cast down his nets and followed Yeshua. What's happening a lot of times in church is they're taking a worldly they're taking a worldly vessel and putting Jesus's name on it. And it's a worldly vessel. Right? So it's wrapped up, it's like common, right? It's used here and there and whatever, right? What I'm saying is we are not supposed to call people common. They're supposed to be set apart. So it's one thing even to use a vessel. It's another thing to actually be a vessel.
But some people are common. Some people that have not received the truth and have not come into and been cleansed by Yeshua.
Okay, so
still
name one
common.
person that's not common.
I mean, we're all
Name one.
surrounded by, we're in a defiled world. We're all.
Name one person that's not common. That you know.
It's not common.
Because I could have sworn I watched some football highlights last night. That's common. On Shabbat even. I'm just being real.
But does that defile you?
I didn't say it defiled me. I'm talking about,
There's a difference here between defiled and common.
and I'm saying we're talking about people. Is football? Football is a vessel. It's a carnal vessel. It's common. So I don't call, if Matthew was out, he was an NFL player, and y'all was using him in the NFL, just because I don't agree with the NFL, because I don't. Right? I actually think it's a form of pagan worship. That is the truth.
Just because it has fans doesn't mean that's.
The NFL started as a 501c3. It started as a church. Let's keep it real. Right? Cheerleaders come from the old priestesses that would meet for pagan sun god worship. That's where they come from. It's not a debate if you study that stuff. I'm not trying to go around blasting people. So something like, but Matthew's playing, I don't call Matthew common because y'all's using him in the football arena.
Right.
Because Matthew could be his, which he is his. Let me say that right. I don't want to pronounce anything over you, Matthew. Life and death is in the tongue, I'm just, it's an example.
But Matthew's not to let that football defile or make
Yes.
him.
Uncommon.
He's not supposed to.
Because it could make him common.
To start doing things.
But that's between him and.
So common
But
in
everybody else
itself
is doing.
doesn't necessarily equate to being defiled.
It doesn't mean common is not I wouldn't say common is a sin.
That's what I'm saying. So that's something that's a very important part of this distinction.
Right.
It's
Is
not
it like
that's a key
lukewarm?
word.
So this is the difference with Yah's responded to the difference between, he doesn't even respond to unclean.
Holy
If
and
you're full of sin, you're not, this is not what he's talking about. He's not saying someone full of sin is his. He's not made someone full of sin is his. He's saying, I've made what's common mine. I've cleansed what was common.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the nations. And that goes back to, Paul has mentioned this a couple times, I'm gonna use it. There are people that believe there are sheep and goat nations, right?
Yeah.
Right, and this is, I'm not talking about a whole nation saved or whatnot, I'm saying sometimes, even if someone is common, a country is common by principle, right? That it's not lined up precept upon precept with the Torah, which is the whole world, right? Can I get a witness?
Yeah.
Only Israel doesn't even line up with the Torah, precept upon precept. Let's tell the truth, right?
Nobody knows.
No one does,
So in that regard, we're all common.
right?
But
Right.
we're striving to be more, we want to be set
But
apart.
Israel, and I'm gonna say America in general, has tried most of their, I'm not saying now, I'm saying in its past, has tried to actually do things according to the word in a broad sense compared to other countries. Do you hear what I'm saying? So I would fall that under, I would treat America, even though it's got all of its issues, as more common than unclean. Now, I'm not saying it's not unclean now,
Right,
with
right.
all that abortion and murder and, drugs running across the border so they can drug their own people.
The common has to do with a mixture. It's a mixture. And holy means set apart. We gotta keep these things.
Yeah, America is not a holy nation. That's ridiculous. You got something? Oh, I thought you had something. I saw your mouth open. You're probably yawning. My bad. I didn't mean to put you out. So what I'm talking about is that common thing, right? So Keith is talking about this again. He's not talking about food. That is clear. And he's not talking about, even when he gives the interpretation, he's not talking about unclean becoming cleansed. And so much of what we do in faith always is that we're always trying to act like, well, someone gave their life to Yeshua. He made all things, even when we don't interpret this as food, we've made all things clean. And I'm looking at this person going, he ain't clean yet.
So that was.
He's not even common.
So that was Peter's interpretation, and the Lord was actually overriding it, setting him straight about what I think what your point is.
Well, he's
common here based on the big theme when you're looking at the overall picture. So people are just looking at it the way Peter was looking at it, not the way Yehovah was looking at it.
Peter's looking at it the same way. He's just telling him how the discussion went with the Father.
Original.
This is in Acts chapter 11. Peter's explaining what the Father did, the conversation they had.
Well, I'm going back to the original thing where he's.
At first, that's what.
Yeah, he thought it was food.
The Lord was talking about a much broader, bigger.
And that's why he sent him to the people that were Gentiles there. That's where he sent him. So remember, he's giving this as an example because he's getting accused of having dinner with some uncircumcised people, some Gentiles.
Going back to the main theme of this.
Yes.
Which speaks volumes to how we are to relate to the church and how, and what's going on in the Hebrew world and how we can make sense of all this.
Yeah, this is his defense. He's given his defense, his rights, right? And the Torah, he's given his rights about how Yeshua showed him how to interpret this scripture about clean and unclean to even relevate to people, right? And so he's explaining that the Father had to tell him that he made these people that. So look, in the Jewish world, there are such things as righteous Gentiles. Is there not? Please, someone, if you don't know this, it's common sense, right?
Yeah.
There's Gentiles and then there's righteous Gentiles. What I'm saying is righteous Gentiles are common. Gentiles are unclean. Now, Yeshua, it's not that Yeshua can't make them, transfer them into kingdoms, right? But there are righteous Gentiles that are common, and there's Gentiles that are unclean. And you can see it by their works. Faith without works is dead.
Otherwise, you'll get into judging people before.
Let me give you an example. Has a church takes an unclean thing and tries to make it clean. Hey, let's do some evangelism. Okay, we're gonna open up a tattoo shop. We're gonna give people tattoos. We're gonna get tattoos.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna. Oh, this is real, right in Columbus, Ohio.
Really crazy.
Look at the head bobbers. They right here. They were there. They know.
Really?
We'd be doing outreach, and they'd be right next to us doing tattoos and fake tattoos at a church event. Unclean.
There's some churches.
That's not common. That's unclean.
They sell beer right in their sanctuary.
Hey, they sold it? Or they gave it.
Oh, maybe they were given.
All right, this sounds like fun. I'm
Yeah,
not,
is the new, congregate, is the new place gonna have a tap?
that's how the Catholic Church does it.
Yeah.
Catholic Church will have a tap in the room. But look, we're playing now. We're getting silly. All right, but look, you guys, are you catching what he's saying here? He's talking about the nations. That's why when look, I'm gonna read it again. Listen real close. Kepha, slay and eat. Verse 8. But I said, not so, Lord, for nothing common or unclean has come at any time entered into my mouth. But the voice answered me again from heaven, what Elohim has cleansed, that called that now common.
Now, did your translation actually use the word common?
Yes, mine uses common, your uses unholy, but it's the same word.
Okay.
Because when it's not, if it's not kashrut, it is common.
All right, so unholy, we're making a distinction then between unholy and defiled, right? I mean, there are two different connotations here. Right?
There's two, yes.
That's the point. That's an important point. Where Jehovah said is holy.
And this is the confusion in America. That's why I'm staying right here.
Yeah,
This is why the church is confused. Because the church says, oh, we just got to love on them. No, you don't love on wickedness. Right? I'm not saying you don't love the person. You can love the person and hate their sin, but you don't love their sin. You don't declare their sin clean. And that's what's happening in the body of Mashiach. Because look, it started when the church started declaring all foods clean. That used to not be so. Look, Smith Wigglesworth thought pork was a sin. How we go from Smith Wigglesworth thinking pork is a sin to only a couple generations later, all things are clean? That is some jacked up stuff.
Portals have been opened. It's return of Jonathan Kahn just wrote about return of the gods, return of the Elohim.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I just heard a little interview. He's speaking to this. Things have happened in the last 5 years that are unprecedented. We've not seen it. You know, you saw the Arch of Baal and all these things, and the Georgia Guidestones and all these things that are coming out.
Right.
Who would have ever thought? Who would have ever had that? Would not have even entered our mind. You know, so portals. And you know where they do a lot is that these big events, when the stadiums are filled, like you're talking about in the halftime events, and they introduce
Hot dogs,
all these
man.
things.
Hot dogs is the way to go, unless you're at the Reds game, then it's beef. But
Yeah.
look, so I'm trying to paint a picture.
Yeah.
How many people here are Jewish that you know of for sure? My hand's like half up from what I just learned recently, but right. So I didn't at least grow up that way.
Yeah.
So look, and Paul, were you devout?
No, we were anything but.
No one here was devout. David's the only one in here that's lived actually in Israel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of us, he found us in the nations. I'm trying to explain to you.
Yeah.
You're the common ones he's talking about. He was talking about us. He made a way to bring provision for us to come into fellowship with the king.
That's right.
Hallelujah.
Because we were uncommon. Now, some of us, he had to grab us when we were being wicked. And it took a process to cleanse us. I'm talking to myself now. Right? But look, when Josh comes, you're going to have to ask him about him and his brother Joe. When they used to come to my house and I would preach to them and go up and sleep with my girlfriend. Oh, I was not even common. And that's why they never respected my walk. But when I got married to Trina and they were like, oh, you got married to Trina? I'm like, yeah. How's that going? I said, well, our first kiss was on our wedding day. The first response was, oh my God. You're real now. That's what they said. They're like, oh, you are not. This is where confusion is. There's people in the body that are sleeping around like I was, fornicating. They are not common. They're unclean. Now, that doesn't mean Yeshua's not doing a redemptive work and it's not in the process.
Just call it what it is.
I'm calling it what it is.
Consecration.
Deliverance is a process.
Yeah.
That was bound.
So could you
Would you say, I'm just asking a question, when it says call nothing common?
It doesn't say that.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, that's the whole point of the conversation.
Okay. So I
Yeah,
can't.
you just kind
It says, call not thou common. Well,
Right.
Elohim is cleansed, don't call common.
Oh, he says for nothing common or unclean, he says common, gotcha.
The Lord said he's talking about common. So he's not asking people to eat unclean
Right.
things. He's asking them that, look, this is what I'm trying to say. Look, Yah knew our hearts. He reached in and said, here, you're mine. He knew, he chose us. We went from unclean to common in that moment. You understand what I'm saying? But everyone that goes around saying, look, before I had that moment with my king, I grew up in church. If someone asked me if I believe, I would have told them I believed in Jesus. I might even have got an attitude about it. I was a heathen.
Because even the demons believe.
That's right. I didn't have a relationship with Yeshua.
See, by not understanding the distinction that you're bringing out here, and you look at this and just take.
I can't move. I can't move from it. I wasn't planning on doing any of this.
Just take it for, the way that it's
The
broadly
Ruach.
taken. It opens the door for a lot of defilement. It opens the door for a lot of things that shouldn't be, because you're not discerning the real underlying, the big picture.
What this scripture defines the difference between the goats and the sheep. This is the difference. So this is why I say, look, if I go to minister at a church and I've had people Hebrews get mad at me. What are you doing in there? I wouldn't even go in there. I'm looking for those that we call common, that he's made clean or wants to make clean.
Good point.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to prove everything I'm saying right to every little heathen up in here that doesn't even have a relationship with the king.
Right.
Not a real one.
Mama.
Hold on. Julie's talking. Hold on. It was funny though.
To really become clean, because it is not just being born again as,
No, it is being born again.
okay, but it is also to be cleansed by fire in the Holy Spirit.
What I'm saying is there's a lot of people claiming to be Christian and they're not.
Oh, I understand that, yeah, I can see that.
That redemptive work of Yeshua has not even transpired in their life.
Right.
It's all by title. This is what, look, there are pastors out there ordaining homosexuality.
Oh, right, I know.
That's not even common. That's unclean. Yeshua did not redeem that. You don't get to be a homosexual and preach that homosexual is okay and get to go to heaven. That is not what's going to happen. And if you think that, you got another thing coming.
But what I'm asking though is not just being born again, but does it also need to have that baptism of fire by the Holy Spirit, not just the water?
To get into his kingdom? No.
No, I'm not talking about to get his kingdom, to be clean.
Instead of common.
Yes. What does it take to move? You've moved from the defiled, now you're into the common by accepting Christ.
No, this whole thing is saying you didn't. No, they were. No, you guys don't understand. No. Let me explain what I'm saying. I want to make sure everyone's got this. All right. You have the world. You have Israel, right? In the world, there's common and there's unclean. The common would be calling righteous Gentiles, right? Righteous Gentiles. Does that make sense? And here's Israel. When you accept Yeshua, you become part of Israel. I said when you really accept Yeshua. Not because you say his name and you believe in him. Devils believe that. Right? Devils believe in his authority. Devil believes that he's the Lord. So I'm not talking about you accept the fact that he's king. Even the devils accept that he's king. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about you surrendered your life to the king. He grafts you into Israel. You're grafted in. An adopted son is supposed to be treated like a natural born. Right? And so you become part of, and here, The word, you're not common in here anymore. This is what he's saying. Don't call common. One of these common Gentiles came into the kingdom. Yeshua said, the Father's telling him, don't call him common anymore. Don't call him common. I've cleansed him with the blood. So he's in the, now look, Acts 15 is, there's only like 4 laws of conversion, okay? This is a very basic place. Most of us have, I think, moved on from that basic place in here, right? So I'm not saying they're supposed to stay there, but they have entered into the process of that redemptive work that he can cleanse them. They're coming into fellowship with the King. And again, with the 5 foolish versions, 5 wise versions, if you're not a virgin, you're out here. You're under the great white throne judgment. That means there's no judgment standing. You get one judgment, the whole crowd shows up, and Yeshua's there like, go to hell. And you're all gone. I'm sorry, that's a very generalized.
They're not gonna get judged.
They get one judgment. You didn't make it. Bye. That's it.
Oh, I thought everybody got it.
No. That's what the great white throne judgment is you get one judgment. Bye-bye. You don't get in. You don't even, he's not gonna take the time for you.
So once we're cleansed and we're brought into the kingdom, we're in relationship with the king, then it's a matter of
A real redemptive work.
staying clean, right? Because
We don't want to turn back.
yeah,
to our
so
sin.
after the Holy Spirit, it's after you receive the Holy
Our
Spirit.
righteousness is
that you
filthy rags.
receive power.
Yeah, power. That's power.
And
That's,
the
I'm not saying
ability, though,
this is why. Look, this is why tongues is not a salvation issue. According to some, it is. It's not. Being filled with power. And I'm not saying, again, we went over this last week. 90% of people spoke in tongues that were filled with power, right? There have been a couple exceptions. It's just very rare.
Well, because without the Holy Spirit, He's the one that convicts us of sin.
But yeah, but there's Holy Spirit in the Tanakh just as much as it is in the Brit. The difference is when you walk in that power, is the indwelling, right? You see that a lot. So but even if you talk about Daniel, right? He had the spirit of the Elohim, right? That's what even sinners said about him. So I mean, tongues is the one thing that's different. I'm trying to point that out, and that's why it manifests that way a lot of times when people are filled, because it is the one different. But that is not whether you're in here or not doesn't mean you have tongues or not. That's a whole nother conversation. This is
once you receive and are filled with the Holy Spirit, He gives us the power to stay clean, to continue to be cleansed, to continue to recognize the things that we may gravitate to.
No, that's what should happen. But that's just what should happen. That's the redemptive process. But
So you can
I'm saying I don't think any of us have remained clean since we came into the kingdom.
No.
That's my point. We're cleansed by the blood of Yeshua. We're made white as snow by Him. We're filthy rags, right? So I'm not saying we should stay that way. And there's a redemptive. We need to be removing one. Being cleansed, being delivered. There's a whole process. But this confusion between common and uncommon, or unclean and common, is part of the reason why there's confusion when someone crosses over into the kingdom, right? They say they gave their life to Yeshua, right? And nothing ever changes in their life. They said the sinner's prayer one time, and the pastor said, "Oh, everyone's going to heaven now." What are you talking about? I mean, look, that's a great place to start a conversation, right? Let's give your life to Yeshua, right? That's the beginning process. Salvation comes in the end, not in the beginning. You have to work it. Why is he saying you have to work out your salvation if you already got it? Any preacher that tells you you gave your life, you got saved, when you said some prayer, they lied.
There is no sinner's prayer.
No, it's a made-up doctrine, right? And I'm all for starting a relationship like that. Give your life to you. That's a great introduction to the kingdom. Now you're crossing over, and here's what you need to do. I'm not saved by works. I didn't say nothing about being saved. I talk about this is what you're supposed to do. Oh, I don't want to do that. Well, then you're not crossing over. You just lied. You just lied to Yeshua. You said you are my Lord. What do you want me to do? That's what that prayer is supposed to be about. Is a transfer in the kingdom. I'm not going to listen to Hasatan and myself, my flesh no more. I'm going to listen to you. So it's about trying to do what he wants us to do. If they don't want to listen to what the word actually says doing, their conversion is fake. It's a lie. They can claim they're hippie Jesus followers all their life and can still burn in hell. Can I be any more clear?
So let me ask you one thing. Is
For
there
some fire.
any Jew, a devout Jew, who would consider a born-again righteous Gentile to be clean?
I would say no, but yeah, one, at least one. There's this great rabbi, his name's Yeshua. You may have heard of him.
But they don't even accept him as.
Some do. Hey,
Yeah, some do.
some in here do, right? I don't. I'm trying to avoid generalized overall statements. Is what I'm trying to do. You see.
So like you're saying that like once like essentially the heart change, like when you start
Born again.
serving and you start pursuing God, even if you're not you mess up and sin.
Yeah, I'm not talking about perfection. That's not-
Yeah, then that means that you're grafted in. But if there's no heart change, if there's no change in the person, that's like that they're just saying the right words, but they're not living like
It's fake.
just thought I just
I'm
want
being. I don't want you. That's what like.
Yeah, if I give my life to,
There's wheat and the tares. They grow up together. So I'm not saying they don't blend in well.
if I say,
And that's not our job to separate the wheat and tare. It's Yeshua's job to separate the wheat and the tare, because he knows our heart. He knows whether we mean it or not. Look, my mom didn't know if I meant it or not. Like I said, I was preaching to my friends and they're going up and sleeping. I did not know. And to be honest, I didn't think I was doing anything that bad. I mean, that's where my mindset was. I look at myself, I want to slap my old self like, what's wrong with me?
but at some point you were convicted of
Yes.
that sin. Now, if you had continued, if you were still, it's been how many years, and you said that Yeshua is my Lord, and you were still preaching and sleeping around, you're lying.
I'm a hypocrite. I was a hypocrite then.
So when I gave my life to Messiah,
Mhm.
and he said, start putting some clothes on, be modest.
Mhm.
If I had not listened and continued to say, oh, Yeshua is my Lord, Yeshua is my Lord, or if you tried to quit eating pork, and I continue to do that,
Anything not a faith is sin.
years after, I'm not saying that it's not a process to be transformed and go through that.
You got to go through the process.
But you can't say.
He was kosherizing you, Trina.
20 years and you're still doing the same thing.
It's not. Well, then you're rebelling against the king, because you can't tell me the king ain't said nothing. So this is it's anything not a faith is sin, right? What is the definition of faith? Faith comes from what? Hearing, and hearing from the word of Elohim, right? So it's written word and it's hearing his word, right? Faith comes from that. Anything not a faith is sin. That's right. When you went and clocked into that job, that everyone applauded you for going to your job because you were just doing the righteous thing, taking care of family or doing this and doing that, but the Lord didn't tell you to do it, you were sinning while everyone was applauding you. And that's the truth. If you're going around doing that, now some things, you know in his word, you're supposed to take care of your family. If you move like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is the righteous thing to do, and I move forward in that well with that heart, he will correct anything and guide you through that process and get you to where you're supposed to go. Does that make sense? Because you maybe not had the perfect decision, but there are a lot of people act like they holy because they got a job and they got a nice white picket fence outside. They got 2.3 kids in a car because that prosperity gospel has told them they're blessed. And they're not. They're going to burn in hell. I don't know how else to say it. I'm trying to be as direct as I can. They are unclean. Their whole life is unclean. Like the whole world is unclean now. Their whole life is unclean. It's all outside Yeshua. They may even have a Jesus bumper sticker on their car. That is irrelevant. Do they really have a relationship with the King? Are they really living and trying to seek his face on what he desires for their life? Now, look, they're going to make mistakes. Anyone that does that, you're going to choose wrong sometimes. But, he rebukes whom he loves. He will correct you. And I've been corrected so many times I can't count. So I know he loves me a lot, I guess. Right? Some people act like, I know people, I ain't never changed. Preachers, bishops, apostles, I ain't never changed. I'm like the Lord, that never changes. Oh, you unrepentant heathen. I'm serious. How foul is that? And you've been with the Lord 30, 40 years and you ain't never grown. You still the same half a heathen you were when you stepped into the faith. It's disgusting. No wonder why you can't keep a wife. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Felt that one a little bit. Look, at least two people are going, I know where this is coming from. Sorry, I said too much. All right. I didn't say anyone's name. I just put that out there. But that's what happens when you can't, what? You're getting conquered by something, so small. People talk about, I don't want to face my giants. Some people's giants are this big. They're that big. Literally, their giants are that big. Trina talks about this story, and I had a very similar story about how she saw this big, huge demon, and then it was like nothing underneath. It was a little tiny body. Tiny body syndrome. And that's how they are. Big head.
He appeared much bigger than he
The devil tends to run his mouth. But when people actually see him, and scripture talks about this, in the end, he's revealed to who he is, they're going to be like, that dude caused all this mess? Right. It's like, Larry Walters, Rabbi Walters one time had this dream. I'm sharing this right. And he said in this dream, he was being attacked by all these homosexuals, and they came up and they tried to stab him. And when they all started stabbing him, they were stabbing him with plastic forks, and the forks were breaking. This is what I'm talking about. People are scared to death of those guys sometimes. Oh, they're going to hate me. They're going to whatever. They got plastic forks, man. You got a double-edged sword. Why are you scared of them?
Well, like the movie we watched,
They got no power.
the
The only reason you think homosexuals have power is because you're carnal. If you think they have power, it's because you're carnal in the way you view things. Because when the prophet was outmanned and he was with his servant, he said, let him see what I see. We outnumber them. You by yourself outnumbers the whole homosexuality movement. The whole transgender movement combined. You and the Lord outnumber them. And if you can't stand in the face of the adversary and rebuke them, it's because you don't know that.
it's in the mind that the attack's on the mind.
It's the battlefields in the mind.
Like in the movie, the basketball player, his opponent, he got in his head.
Oh, we watched the
And when
basketball
he got
movie,
in
guys.
his head, then it affected his game.
Mhm.
He started just missing shots.
And he was better than him.
He was better than him, but he got in his. So we have to guard our heart,
Our mind.
our mind. There's a lot of psychological warfare going on.
Woo. It's got wicked. Sorry. I got chills all over my body right now.
To us.
Okay. I hope everyone understands the difference of what's being said here. This has nothing to do with food. The food is the example. Right? So if I was going to talk about Susan using her voice and I said, here's a trumpet. This is how a trumpet used, and you need to use your voice like that. That's what's going on in this conversation. Food was the example. It was the prop. And they didn't turn it into a doctrine.
Pondering what it meant when the strangers came to his door.
Right.
He was still pondering the vision when these Gentiles appeared.
He was telling them to let the Gentiles in his house because they were his now. I've heard preachers, I've been in churches where preachers preach that this discussion with Kepha, their interpretation was that Kepha was sitting there eating pork ribs with his Gentile friends. Oh.
Having a barbecue.
And that he didn't believe it. And that's what the Lord had to rebuke him because he did not believe that he could eat pork now. That's what they turned it into. And now I'm going to be honest. It's one of the greatest teachers in Christendom. And he jacked that thing up that bad. You know why? Because people want to eat their pork. people want him to say that. They're not gonna investigate it because they want to eat their pork, they want to eat their shrimp, they want to eat their bats, which cause all kinds of crazy stuff.
Whoa,
People eat
shrimp's
bats
in
for
there?
fun.
We can't eat shrimp?
Kinds of stuff.
Oh, man.
I just had a hard time getting that dog.
Right.
I hear it's really tasty.
I found out Lonnie had pork.
Today.
I didn't know.
Now you know.
I-
Hey. What's the chance we're talking about this today, right? Hey, brother. Hey. Y'all must love you very much. He said he let you bring it today of all days so you could learn, right? Look, and so the sanctification process is, see, some people think the sanctification process is, you don't wear a skirt to the dirt. You wear white every fourth Sunday in a month. No, that's dogma. That's the takanot of Christendom, right? That you have to do all these things that man has made up. It's called dogma. It actually says dogma was nailed to the stake. Dogma was nailed to the stake. And that's dogma. It's man-made laws, right? If you really want to repent, you turn to the Torah, and that's what Acts 15 is about, is the starting place to learn from the Torah, to come into fellowship, to even have fellowship. These are the things you need to do, and then you can start to learn the process, and the Torah will be used to sanctify. Well, Yeshua is using the Torah to teach you through the sanctification process, so you understand it, what he's doing with you.
It's really good. What I watched was called Napping the Cross, 119 Ministries.
Yeah, I've never seen. I know who they are.
Yeah, it's a very good, I actually watched half of it today, I haven't seen it in a long time. And it's really, really good, so if anyone's interested. It does a good explanation of the confusion of, and the law being nailed to the cross, and it explains exactly what Paul probably meant when it's.
So that's good to know. I'm going to share something, and this is why when we get into the sanctification process and how to keep Torah, when it comes to the calendar, tassels, or whatever, we got about 4 or 5 different opinions in here all the time. My focus is never on, look, we get into these things sometimes and I share my opinion, but that's why we don't regulate things on how to do that. The Ruach's already working with you to come back into Torah. I try to let the Ruach finish what he started. We can teach on things and people learn from that, and sometimes that helps, right? But that's why we don't regulate how people, I focus on more in doing it, not how you do it. Does that make sense? So I wear tassels because I'm commanded to wear them. Right? And yes, as you learn, you can get more and more specific on what that means and how to do it. And all those other things, that's great. My concern is I want you to be in the kingdom. So I'm focused on taking you from common to being grafted in, right? That's where my focus falls in. And then training up some of this stuff while we're in there. But my focus has never been on the details. And that doesn't mean I haven't studied the details. And I'm not trying to go there, because that's not true.
Never did sweat the small stuff. Right, Trina?
What is it, Trina? Say it right, Trina.
I never did sweat. I never did mind the little things.
Yeah, right.
And they're all.
Never did mine.
Right, look, I'm just trying to, who's got different tassels on? Brian had some on. I was going to use him, but he's gone.
Well, mine.
Who's got different tassels on? Matthew? Oh, do we? Sometimes we have the same tassels. What kind do you have on today? I think we have different ones. I have different ones on today. That's why. Look, guys. Look at my tassels. Look at Matthew's. I think his are different because I have different ones on today. So I think he has the same he normally has on. Can you show him? See, look at his. Look at mine. They're totally different looking, right? Not totally, I guess, but they're right. Mine are thicker. These are actually tied differently. And I just, yeah, someone else did them, no. So my point is, whether we tie tassels the same way or not is not the main thing. We're wearing tassels because it's commanded. You want to be like Yeshua? What would Yeshua do? A woman touched the hem of his garment, was healed. Well, guess what? This was his hem. So if you want someone to touch the hem of your garment and be healed, I guess you better start wearing them. I'm just saying, right? If that's what you want to do, right? This is not a, what my point is, this is not a salvation issue. This is. This is. That's why I go around at churches and do that unplugged. Because that unplugged class is dealing with things that scripture say are salvation issues. I don't go into every little detail in the Torah when I'm doing that. Why? Do you think someone that doesn't know that they're not in the kingdom even cares about how to tie tassels? No. Why would they care? Why would they care? We are we have bigger things to deal with. Do you think Kepha was a Shaul was running around preaching to the Gentiles about how to tie their tassels? Why do we do that stuff? He was preaching repentance, coming to the kingdom. Here's the gospel of Yeshua. Here's the work that he did. Right? Now, I'm sure he tied someone's tassels at one time or showed them how. That's not I'm not debating that. I'm just saying this is not the focus of his teachings. What's the focus of your teachings? What are you talking about with everyone at a time, right? What is he telling you to do? Because if he hasn't told you to do something and you're doing it, it's sin. You can dress up, you can wear tassels, you can wear a head covering if you're a woman, you can do all that stuff. But if you're not listening to him, you're full of sin. It just gets that simple. If you study out the word righteousness and faithfulness, you're going to find out it's pretty much the same thing, right? So we're considered righteous by Yeshua, but that's only if we obey. I'm not talking about perfect obedience. That's what I'm talking about. But look, he's told me to do this. I'm trying to do this. Told me to do this. I'm trying to do my best to do this. That's the life. That's supposed to be our lifestyle. I'm talking about lifestyle, right? That our lifestyle is supposed to be trying to appease him, to please him. If that's not our lifestyle, he's not really, we weren't born again. We just said some prayer one time. Basically, I'll say like an old school traditional preacher. We went down, dry devil, came up, wet devil. That's what that means. Anyone ever heard that before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you just because you got baptized doesn't mean we. Right? All right, so you remember I've done a lot of been around a lot of preachers, so I've heard a lot. My favorite is still the cereal Christianity. Fruits, flakes, and nuts. I got that from Parsley. Parsley was great at that, man. All right, so the question is, do you have any questions about this? Anyone got other insight about this? Because the whole context is about people. All right. I hope we went over that enough. What time is it? Oh my, we got time. Where do we leave off? So we're on 19? 19 through 30. We got to at least do this chapter. Oh, we got till like 7 o'clock, don't we?
Oh,
Yeah, early about
she would be
6:30.
there at 7
Mm-hmm.
at the movie theater. For those who got tickets through her, it's on her phone, so they'll scan her phone.
Okay, so we got to be there at 7.
Well, she said she'll be there at 7, but we want to get there before.
Yeah.
We should have done this hard to tell, right?
Am I supposed to do something to follow up? Are we supposed to have our own tickets?
Well,
I don't have a ticket.
did you get tickets from? Did you send her any money?
I gave her the money, but I
Well,
didn't.
then she
You got You got a ticket. You got a ticket.
Huh?
She'll have it tonight. There's probably some extra seating. We just you may not be able to sit in the same row as everyone else, but you can still go. That's not. I don't think The Chosen in Grove City, Ohio is going to be sold out on a Saturday night. That's all I'm saying. I mean, even Christians are normally out doing common things. Let me stop. I hope it's sold out. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's sold out. All right. Who wants to read 19 through 30?
Now, they which were scattered abroad on the persecution that arose about Stephen?
It's
Travel.
Stephen.
As far as the niche, Cyprus, Antioch, preaching the word none but unto Jesus. And some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which when they were come to Antioch, spake unto the Grecians, preaching the Lord Yeshua. And the hand of the Lord was with them, and a great number believed and turned. Then tidings of these things came unto the leaders of the church which was in Jerusalem, and they sent Barnabas, who, when he came and had seen the grace of God, was glad, and exhorted them all with purpose of heart, they would cleave unto the Lord. For he was a good man, full of the Holy Spirit, and of faith. And much people were added unto the Lord. Then departed Barnabas to Tarsus for to seek Saul. And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And passed the whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. Disciples were called Christians first. And in these days came prophets from Jerusalem unto Antioch, and there stood up one of them named Agabus, signified by the Spirit that there should be great thirst throughout all the world, which came to pass in the days of Claudius Caesar. Then the disciples, every man according to his ability, determined to send relief to the brethren which dwelt in Judea, which also they did, and sent it to the elders by the hand of Barnabas.
Well, there's some
Great dearth.
great dearth. There's some subjects in here that,
So does that mean they were under persecution? They were perhaps not able to earn a wage enough for them to help
Mhm.
and live.
mhm.
Without a body comes in, right? That would be all.
Now, Claudius was known for his birth.
I don't think I ever saw that before, that it was prophesied.
Look at verse 29 too. It was prophesied, but so what was their reacting when they were suffering?
Well,
They gave money to Judea.
every
So,
man according to
because the
his
people in Jerusalem were in the same situation. Right? And they realized this whole time they've been in Jerusalem suffering. And now the suffering has come to them. So they sowed into them. They didn't sow into themselves, right? They sowed into them. And look, there is a reaping and sowing aspect here that they were operating in clearly. Right? And realize that, maybe we weren't doing what we're supposed to when our brothers were suffering in, Jerusalem. So we're gonna let's now I'm reaping what I sowed. I let my brother suffer, so now we're suffering. So now the first response was to correct it. It was to repent from that, right? And turn and say, look, let's bring relief to them because we need relief too. That's my take on it, at least. I mean, it's a perspective you don't hear too often, I'm sure, but
Well, I think we need to keep these things continuously. The days ahead. Have been prophesied, things that have been written, as far as persecution, coming to those who believe in Messiah and keep his commandments.
so I'm gonna bring up something. I'm gonna talk about myself a little bit. So I'm gonna tread lightly because I'm not trying to make myself something more. I'm not. I just it is an example that I think about, and I can't deny that I think about this. You have a lot of believers right now complaining that they're being falsely accused of stuff, and no one's helping them and all this other stuff. But daggone it, I went through it for years. And most of the same people were talking trash about me. Yeah. They were talking trash, calling me names, fake, all kinds of stuff, because they didn't understand. They didn't. And so now a lot more people are going through that stuff. A lot. Oh God, that's a different subject. Wait. The rock shut me up. It is food for thought. I was taught in a very young age in ministry, my early 20s, not to put your mouth on preachers when they're going through things. So, and here's why. Preachers are dealing with principalities and spirits all the time. When a preacher is struggling with a spirit they're dealing with, when you put your mouth on that, you're declaring that spirit is nothing. So you're actually declaring war on something you don't even know what you're dealing with. So that spirit has now a right to come and attack you. That's what happens. And I saw people when I was going through my stuff and I was being falsely accused and all this other stuff, I saw even family members put their mouth on me. Guess what happened to almost all their children? The same stuff. Because they attacked. They put their mouth on someone, they didn't understand the situation, they judged it from afar, and it didn't go along with their Catholic doctrine. But it went along with the word. So they reaped what they sowed, a lot of them. Not all of them, I mean, in general statements. Right, so I just, food for thought, I mean, there's some stuff here. The other thing is, excuse me, we act like the word Christian is a bad word. Now, I'm sure it was spoken derogatory at this time. Come on, man. The word Christian is not a bad word. It's very biblical. It just means follower of Christ. That's what it means. Right? They were called there, and yes, it was derogatory. Yes, Kifa and them were not using that terminology. I'm not saying we have to use that terminology, but it's not a bad word. Some Hebrew circles, if you say you're a Christian, they act like you're a devil. Anyone ever seen that before? I have, more than once. You're a Christian? Oh, you're a Catholic. I'm like, do you actually read the word? They don't. They tend not to say that to me. Right? It's in the word. It's not a bad word.
When you talked about some, clearly for a whole year, they were selling into that church.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching them.
Yep.
It's time and patience.
Oh, it does? No way.
What is
Prophet Ag was the popular about family.
Is that how you say it?
It's not either on
Oh, was it?
it? Means locust?
It doesn't say mine, but yeah. That's
say in yours.
mine does that on occasion.
Oh, this is a Hebrew origin. God. It would sound much like this. The God. God? The God is the.
Which means what?
The God means locust. So
Okay.
they're saying that it actually does come from
Hebrew. That happens a lot. You guys, if you've never sat through one of my classes when it comes to binding and loosing, right? You can go, there's multiple binding and loosings in scripture. And so you have to match the Greek word with the correct Hebrew word. If you do it with the wrong one, you'll actually do it backwards, right? Because there's more than one. So when it says you're supposed to bind the commandments close to you, right? Binding was always in that kind of binding was in a good way. Loosing was loosing unto destruction. And it actually says so in the Greek when you look up binding and loosing. It literally says unto destruction. So you're like, people are like, I loose healing. No. life and death is in the tongue. If you want to be, look, I'm not saying that Yah doesn't honor it and he, he winks at our ignorance sometimes, but if you want to be more effective and you want, do it the right way. Be more fruitful, right? Anyone got anything else here? Time is it? How we doing on time, guys? You wanna try another one since we got more time? Or do we wanna relax for a little bit? Not up to me, cause you wanna keep reading? Okay, let's do 1 through 5. Yaakov killed and Eva imprisoned. Acts 1 through 5. Yeah, Acts 12, 1 through 5.
Okay, now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it please the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Pesach to bring him forth to the people.
Thank you.
Peter, therefore, was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto Elohim for him.
Okay. Couple things I just want to point out before we get into discussion. If we go to the word church here, it is what? Ecclesia. Because we get the word church from the word kirke. It is actually a pagan word. And that's why we highlight the difference. It's kirke is also where we get the word circus from. So people act like the church is becoming a circus. Well, if you claim you're a circus for 2,000 years, guess what happens? You become a circus. So words matter. That's all I'm saying. Yaakov, the brother of Yohanan. This is not the brother of Yeshua. It's a different Yaakov. I want to be clear about that. All right. Yaakov as in Jacob. This is not, James did not exist in Hebrew. This is Yaakov, just so you know. All right. If we go down farther, here is the favorite word we always talk about right here. Acts 2:4. Intending in the King James, it says Easter. But even if you go to the Greek, it says Pascha, which is Passover. All right. The original text did not say Easter. So when I do Unplugged a lot, this question does come up with churches because like it says Easter right there in the scripture. Not in the original text, it doesn't. Someone Christianized the Hebrew here. So I'm saying they Greeked it. What do you want to call it? What's the word? What's the proper word? Hellenized, maybe? It could be. Could be. All right. You guys got it. Anything?
Well, what's their response? Yeah, was put in prison.
Their response was to pray, right?
For him.
They went to prayer. Now, if they're praying for him, what are they praying? I'm doing this on purpose.
They don't want him to be kept in prison.
Is it, look, we do prayers, some of us, at least at times, I say at times because of me. Matthew's probably better at this than I am. Sometimes I do the normal prayers. I read them from a prayer book. Nothing wrong with it, right? Right. Nothing wrong with doing it.
There's nothing wrong with reading a prayer.
Right? This is not what was being done here. I'm pointing out that there's multiple types of prayer. Sometimes in the past, Trina has done warring in the spirit, and people act like we're sinning almost.
What?
wedding, right?
I wish I was.
Oh,
I've been so sheltered.
Right? Because our people are uncomfortable with praying outside of something so structured. This is situational here. I don't have to believe Yah for a word to pray for Grove City, Ohio. I live here. I know Weaver. I know we got problems. I need to pray. Right? What am I going to do? Someone's getting injustice is being done. I'm supposed to pray. If you know injustice has happened, you should be called to prayer. You don't need a memo. You don't need someone to tell you. It should be a natural response to injustice is to pray. I say that not from anything in here, but from past times. You probably hear the frustration in my voice. I've seen so many crazy stuff sometimes. I'm like, really? Where do you get that from? They always have some basic income from something. All right.
I feel like these chapter names really for that one next one's a complete spoiler.
I mean,
This is really awesome.
yeah, we're going to read the next one, but as we read it, I want to point out one thing. Yaakov, the brother of Yohanan, was killed. Kepha was arrested and was about to be killed, and he wasn't. What's the difference? Well, prayer is one of them, that's for sure. There's other things. I don't know if it comes to life. It's been a couple days since I actually went through this part specifically, so mercy on me. But who wants to read next? We'll go 6 through 19. I just want to bring it up before you read it. See some of the differences in prayer. Obviously, is the first one. Susan mentioned it. And I'm just letting you guys, I repeat some of this sometimes because we have people online and sometimes they can't hear. So I get a little repetitive, but I'm trying to make sure everyone is on the same page, just so you know. I forget sometimes.
When Herod would have brought him forth the same night, he was
The same night.
keepers before the door kept the prison. Behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him, and light shined from the prison, and smote Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, "Why did you put me?" And fell off. And he said to him, "Gird yourself and bind on thy ankles." And so he did. He saith unto him, "Cast thy garment about thee, and follow me." He went out and followed him, and wist not that it was true, it was done by the angel, but caught the saw vision. When they were past the first and second ward, they came unto the iron gate that leadeth unto the city. Opened to them of his own accord, and they went out and passed on to Bun Street. Forthwith the angel departed us. Peter was come to himself, he said, "Now I know of a surety that the Lord hath sent his angel over me out of the hand of Herod." All the expectation of people. When he had considered the things, he came to the house of Mary, mother of John, concerning the Mark, where many were gathered together praying. And as Peter knocked at the door, a big damsel came to hearken, named Rhoda. And when she knew Peter's voice, she opened not the gate with gladness, but ran in. Behold, now Peter stood before the gate. Said to her, "You are mad." But she constantly affirmed that it was even so. Then said they, "It is his angel." Peter, who was knocking, when he had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. But he beckoned unto them, through 18,
19.
and with the hand that hold their peace, declared unto them how the Lord had brought him out of prison. He said, "Go, show these things unto James, his brother." And he departed and went into another place. Now as soon as it was day, there was no small stir among the soldiers. What was Peter? When Herod had sought for him, and found him not, he examined the keepers, commanded that they should be put to death, and went down to Judea and Caesarea.
What a story.
What happened when Peter died? Because they escaped miraculously. So this time
he's chained between two garments. I never put that together, but it just came to mind right as he was reading.
And he's not dressed. He had to put on his garments, his shoes. He's barefooted, not properly dressed. You ain't going nowhere.
And yet God said,
This is what I'm talking about. You look at it from our perspective when we go through things. If this is not happening for you, change your walk or realize that maybe it's not supposed to happen. This stuff still happens, right? We were told a story about the fire department wouldn't help him put out a fire, so he had to put it out with a hose at his own house, right? You ask him after, that's a whole rabbit hole, right? But he was able to put it out with the hose. You know, they were mad probably. They were like, daggone it, he put it out. Right? These things, we need to be asking, did he make a way of escape? Sometimes he doesn't make a way of escape. He didn't for John. John died by the sword. So there's a time appointed to men to die. Right? Now, you can try to die ahead of time, but that doesn't mean you won't die. Right? You can only die when he allows it to happen. So they try to look, like he said, he's escaped. Let me finish and you can go there. So when he escaped once, they said, oh, we gotta be better prepared next time. Instead of going, the Lord delivered him, instead of repenting for trying to do something wrong, they got more like, nah, we just gotta do it better. We gotta do our sin better. And it still didn't work. Who's gonna wake up like in Egypt and go, hey man, we're getting our rear end kicked by Moses and all his gods, and I mean, who at some point you have to wake up and what's really going on? Why is this one guy we can't put our hands on him? And we're afraid. Could you imagine Tikvah after this moment? If he had any fear of going to jail, you think he had it after that? Because I know when I went to jail, revival broke out, when they put the anklet on me, that fear, that stuff went right out the window. It encouraged my faith so much. Most people are scared. They are.
They're afraid of the unknown.
Afraid of the unknown. If Yah's got your back, he's got your back. No one can do anything to you, even if they try. You end up in jail in Grove City, Ohio, cuffed. Doesn't mean you're going to stay there. It doesn't mean you're going to stay there. Philip transported 30 miles instantaneously. How do you know that as the cop goes to cuff you in Grove City, that you won't end up in Dayton 5 seconds later? I'm serious. This is how I've lived. So I'm. How do you know? Like she said, people are afraid of unknown. They're afraid that Yeshua is not going to deliver them. But they're afraid of being John. They're afraid that it's going to cost them their life. Look, we have the gospel completely backwards. It's the remnant of the prosperity gospel even in our hearts. If he wants to tomorrow say that's enough, Stephen, it is what it is. He knows best. We have to embrace real truth. But if we can't embrace the own truth in our life, how are we ever going to embrace the other truths in this world that are all jacked up? We have to deal with it in ourselves first. We got to be willing to go, this is what he said. This is what we're going to do. It's just that simple. You want oil in your lamp? Listen and obey. Go ahead.
Well, I believe that, our response, if you were put in jail, our response should definitely be to pray. That we should be praying for you anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And then Peter, what if he hadn't responded the way that he did when the angel told him, arise up quickly? What if he had fought that directive? Oh, but this, but that, I can't do this, I can't do that. He listened and he obeyed, and he was set free. But
even though it led him to jail. and in chains.
Right, but it says, behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him, a light shined in the prison. He smote Peter on the side, raised him up, saying, arise up quickly. And then the
Told him to
chains
wake
fell
up.
off. Then the chains fell off.
Then the chains fell off.
He rose up quickly and his chains fell off from his hands. And then the angel said, gird thyself, bind on thy sandals. But if he had dilly-dallied around and not listened, he would have still been in prison.
Yeah.
Dilly-dally.
Dilly-dally. So check this out. For the sake of time, for the sake of time, I tell partial stories sometimes. You guys get that? Because I'm trying to make a point. But this is going to make a point. I'm going to go more detailed. So I tell these stories about me going in and all this. But look, what happened was I'm preaching. They want me to quit preaching. They gave me a court case. The ministry got upset and all wrote letters to the judge. They interceded on my behalf to the judge, right? And they're praying. There's no doubt about that. I show up at court. He's so pop-eyed mad because he probably got these letters. He tried to lock me up for 2 years in jail. But he didn't throw me in that day. There's a cop right there. Why didn't he throw me in jail that day? Because he knew he was doing something illegal. He tried to get me to check myself in, right? So I go to check myself in my blue pinstripe church suit, baby blue at that,
Oh, my God.
and my white silky shirt underneath. I was all churched out for that day. And my wife made fun of me before I went to jail. But I showed up at jail, and then God supernaturally intervened for me. Because look, they interceded, and the judge still wouldn't do it. He just got madder. So he tried to turn up the flames on me, right? And then sent me to jail. I went and checked myself in. That guy got upset at the judge and threw me out. Like, you can't come up in here. Then he put the ankle bracelet on me, and then they couldn't track me. The whole story is there. There was a process. One thing led to the other because I refused to give in and bow to it, to be honest. And the more he backed me up, the bolder I got with it. I'm like, oh, he's with me. I'm about to go off. And I said some stuff to the judge that you probably should not say. But that's all right. It was needed.
And he had enormous choice to stay. And if you fast forward, the faith that was built through his life, when he was in jail for the final time, and he knew he was gonna escape through death.
Right.
But he was solid.
Because he knew it was time. See, if it's not your time, you can't go. He will intervene on your behalf. If it's your time, it's your time. You can't do nothing about it anyways. We just got to learn to embrace that he is sovereign and he knows best. Trust him. If someone removes bolts out of our engine to make it fall and crash or blow up or something, and without the bolt, it doesn't happen, y'all's got your back. They can try to set you up and stage you to have your house burned down, your car blow up. They can do all that stuff, but it does not work when you're on his mission. Because the only reason someone would let someone's house burn down or remove a bolt from their car is because it's worked some other time. But it didn't work on you. Uh-oh. Right? It didn't work. They tried and it still didn't work. Now they don't know what to do.
Extra wily coyote just then.
If you have a dog and you name it a fish, and it's still a dog, it didn't work. Right? Just saying.
If he's floundering.
You're just mad because what?
No.
But if
Is
he
there a
continues
point
to
where
flounder,
they mention the name of that slave girl?
Say what? Hold on, guys. Hold on. You got a real question. What?
Is there importance of why they mention the name of that slave girl, Londa?
Oh, that's a good question. What's her name? I didn't look it up. Rhoda.
Because no one believed her, but she recognized Peter's voice.
Rose. The servant girl.
question is why she didn't just open the door.
Yeah, why didn't she?
And here it says she was a female slave or servant in the Greek.
What number is it?
Acts 12:13.
Maybe she and herself was, now she recognized it was his voice, but maybe she thought that he could have been a ghost. But when they said it's his angel.
That's the only time she's mentioned.
They thought he was dead.
So why would they think it's
His angel would show up. The same thing happened in Jesus.
That's right. That's right. They've already seen it. They called her mad. Called her a maniac. Keith is at the gate. Are you crazy, woman? That's what he said. Are you crazy, woman?
That's one of the worst
So
things
what?
as in Hebrew calls
Oh, really?
it, money. It's the worst of the worst. What? Maniac? That's it. Demon. I'm like, dang it, that is, so what? But that's the bottom of the barrel right there.
Interesting.
So what were they praying? I mean, were they not praying that he would be set free or would they do?
They did really in unbelief.
Did they believe what they were praying? Maybe she freaked out. Oh my God, he's there. Let me go get some.
If she didn't know experience.
Well, it says she didn't open it because of gladness.
So-
She was so excited that he
I-
was there. that-
I'm about to say something about the Word of Faith movement. The Word of Faith movement teaches people if they don't believe, it's not going to happen. What about here? Word of Faith movement? They clearly weren't believing that he was going to be saved, but he was.
Look at Sarah, she laughed, right?
Sarah laughed.
Which technically, so they just didn't dwell on that, but he kind of did too.
Like, I did.
Because he, in a human situation, that's impossible.
So I'm just saying that Word of Faith movement is something else. Name it, claim it.
We don't have the ability to limit. Yeah, I mean, his power exceeds every limitation of man. He's gonna do what he's gonna do and what he wants to do. No matter what.
Yeah, so that's the other thing is they're interceding, right? That's why I mentioned they were praying, but I think it's more than just prayer. That's where I was going to end on this section. I'm glad you brought it up. Look, I know two preachers
Just to,
that they started getting hit with tomatoes while they were preaching street. One started shouting, the other one started cursing. There is differences in the spirit realm in your walk.
Shouting for joy?
There are different levels. Spirit goes from glory to glory. And I share that story because some of them will cause you not to get delivered in your moment of, right? I'm saying, I don't believe John was Kepha. Because he's not. James, or the one that died, James. Because he says, go tell James, right? He's telling the brother of Yeshua, Yaakov, go tell him. That's what he's saying. So it's a different James, but there's a difference, right? When you walk this walk from glory to glory, you have to learn to recognize when someone has obtained to press in an area in their life. You have to recognize that. We should honor that in one another. David leaves Florida, didn't have a lot of money, did you, David? And you went to Israel for 11 years. How much money did you
I
have?
didn't have any, I would have pretty much broke. 2 suitcases and a dog. Came back 11 years later, 2 suitcases and 2 dogs. Buried one there, brought 2 back. Same amount of clothes back.
Just saying, 11
Bro.
years, that's some faith. That is honorable. If you tell Matthew he doesn't have a place to live tomorrow, Matthew be like, and that is a strength. Most people, if their house gets threatened, will freak out, panic, act like their whole life is gonna fall. Some bankers, when that stuff happens to them, will start jumping out of windows.
Matthew be like, good. Good, now I can use my tent.
When, George Bush shut down Buckeye Steel, plus 50 minutes suicide, they did the whole life.
Yeah.
Expecting that retirement pension,
Mm.
so I couldn't believe it.
Their faith was in Buckeye Steel instead of Yeshua, right? And that's,
Christians.
I know. That's why I said there's a difference in stuff. This is what we're talking about. Buckeye Steel. My mom's has a retirement for teaching, being a professor all those years. I know because we've had the conversation multiple times. She is not relying on that. Look at her. She's like, I'm waiting for the day they say bye-bye. Because she knows the state of the union, right? But that's why I said you can't live your life based off of other things. They were Christian. They worked at Buckeye Steel. They were basing it on their retirement. And they're killing themselves afterwards, which is proof that Buckeye Steel was a god to them. That's what the proof is in that work, the action. How you respond determines really whether it was a god or not. So I'm not saying stuff shouldn't hurt. I'm not saying they shouldn't be upset because they lost their retirement. They should be upset, right? That's for sure.
Not often.
George Bush is a dirty, wicked gangster. I'm saying it on the internet, and I don't care. Bill Clinton's a gangster too.
But our response,
They're both gangsters.
the Lord wants to show us what's really inside of us by our response. Cause he is trying to, refine our character, he's trying to, take us to that sanctification. And when we're put in positions, how we respond shows us what's in us. So we have an opportunity to grow and change and repent and be better. So I'm grateful, for the times that where I haven't responded the way that I should. But it gives me an opportunity to grow.
Well, the example is I didn't kiss Trina until we got married. I would say that I had a strength when it came to dealing with women at that point, even though my early years weren't like that. But it came to the point where instead of sleeping with my girlfriend while I'm preaching to people, I didn't kiss Trina until we got married. That's a huge switch.
Well, I wouldn't let you kiss me until you got married.
Oh, like I was trying. You act like I was trying. Come on, girl.
But he wasn't trying. He wasn't trying.
Yeah, see,
But then my testimony is the one time I was struggling, Trina was gone for 30 days. All of a sudden I started struggling in my mind and all of a sudden, like, how did it go from a strength to an unguarded strength can become a weakness? That's what the proverb says, right? So it was an unguarded because I was so confident and I didn't guard it anymore, really. And I'm not saying they was totally unguarded, but and so stuff can creep back on you, and we just gotta recognize that we are in a war.
But when you talk about
It's a real spiritual war.
the one who they were getting tomatoes thrown at him, and the one was shouting for joy, the other one was cursing. There may be at a time in my walk, I was that one that was cursing and then repented. And then now if you throw a tomato at me, I'm gonna say praise Jehovah.
Was that
David, go ahead.
that was not an okay to throw a tomato. That's my point. To be honest, if Trina wouldn't have left and I didn't start struggling, I wouldn't even have known it was there.
Right.
And then maybe it would have been a worse situation farther down the road. And I would have maybe backslid. Right? So he was telling me to warn me. He was letting me see what was in my heart. And I don't even know how, I was 30 days without my wife being around. All married men would know that withdrawal happens. Right? So I missed you too. But you don't even know what's in your heart. Sometimes you got to dig deep sometimes to find something. But if there's a seed in there, Sometimes Jehovah wants you to take you through something so you can even see that it's growing. Like, hey, I know it's small now, but you better nip this thing in the bud before it becomes a tree. David, you saying something? David, you want to include us? Want to share with the class? All right.
Marty, I need bleeding sauce and bleeding forward. Let's again.
David says that he has never missed his wife.
Yet. Acts 12, 20 through 25. 6 verses left in this chapter. Go ahead.
And Herod was highly displeased with them, Tyre and Sidon, but they came with one accord to him. And having made Blastus the king's chamberlain their friend, desired peace, because their country was nourished by the king's country. And upon a set day, Herod arrayed in royal apparel, sat upon his throne, and made an oration unto them. And the people gave a shout, saying, It is the voice of a God, and not of a man. And immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, because he gave not God the glory, and he was eaten of worms, and gave up the ghost. But the word of God grew and multiplied, and Barnabas and Saul returned from Jerusalem when they had fulfilled their ministry, and took with them John, whose surname was Mark.
They died.
The spirit of
Because they started worshiping him.
And he led them.
He said, oh yeah.
That's a severe, be eaten by one.
Oh, I saw young Kanye West last night on a 30-second clip say that he was a god at one time. Now, I don't know if he believes that now, but I heard him say.
That's like the main lyrics.
Oh, really? I don't even know.
Okay.
Yeah, Kanye.
And you saw.
But he's in some poo-poo now, right now.
Ever since he came against the vaccine and supported Trump, they've hated him. So I don't, whatever. You support Trump in America, they hate you like forever. Kyrie didn't get a vaccine. Everything he does is simple. So I mean, I'm not saying they don't do stuff wrong. I'm just saying.
There was a really good interview with him. It's like 2 or 3 hours. It's not indulgent, but pretty good musician.
Oh, he's got skills. There's no doubt about that.
I shouldn't say he's not intelligent. He's not good person.
You're funny, David. All right. I mean, isn't this crazy? Herod just saw Kepha escape his hand, proving that he's not a god. And here he is,
Relishing in it.
right after. This is your response. Kepha escaped, and your response is to let people worship you. Yeah, buddy.
he did it, because I'm sure the soldiers, you don't know what happened. With the Barbies, whoever they were, you don't know what happened. He was here, you don't know. It's impossible. Instead, they were killed.
They were killed. Because he just assumed. Isn't that what people do sometimes? This is why I listen to crazy stuff sometimes. I'm being honest. I have all these stories. Because I've listened to crazy stuff because I don't want to base it off of what it looks like. And, you know, most of the time when I listen to crazy stuff, it ends up being exactly what it looked like. It's true. But sometimes, on a rare occasion, it's not. And it's something else. And for the sake of the righteous, I endure the other 70, 80% of the time. Because I don't want to persecute the righteous. Right? You know why? Because I've been there where I know what it looked like, but it wasn't. And people get all upset, and I'm like, really? Trina and I were at court, and I had a preacher, a woman preacher, come down in her collar and was walking around me and Trina, stretching her hands towards me and Trina, praying in tongues. Cast that devil out of it. Right, Trina?
Cast the devil out of me.
What is that?
And I was leaning over with Trina and we were snickering like this crazy woman. She has no idea that she's the one working with the devil. Right?
I don't know. It's
We were down at the courthouse and we had a female preacher going around us speaking in tongues, trying to cast the devil out of us.
That was funny.
Now we're giggling. We were giggling about it because it was so ridiculous.
It was comical.
You know, because she's siding with someone that ran off with a minister in training and left her husband. I mean, it's insane what
you
people.
don't know the whole story.
She didn't know the whole story. She had some crying woman syndrome. That's what I like to call it. Some woman cries sometime in some preacher's office and they automatically hate the guy. Oh, I can't believe this guy did this to you. They never actually get the full story.
Then they
And you
don't
think
care
women
about-
don't know they can't do that?
Never actually talk to the man or whoever the other party is that was involved
Well,
in the situation.
I was praying the whole time she was doing it under my breath. I wasn't making a spectacle. She was doing it in front of people in court, in public. It was crazy.
Yeah, so fun on this.
Just walking around. So the Lord says, invite her in the back. So I said, they invited us to, you know, they do at court, you try to reconcile things at court. We're in there and I said, bring your friend too. So we go to the table and we sat down and she goes, you got something to say? I said, yep. I said, since you're a Christian now, why don't you get your pastor and I'll get my pastor and they can come and whatever they say, we'll do. She went off. No. And the preacher looked at her and then looked at me and I was like, I like, you on the wrong side of the table, chick. And we never had a problem with her ever again. That's how he told me to deal with it. Right? And it did deal with it. All of a sudden she was like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. She had enough word in her to realize I've been lied to.
Oh, we didn't have a problem with her, the woman.
Yes, the minister.
Well, the one that was praying.
Can't say that.
Mhm.
It is, when the matter seems right until you think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's what Torah teaches you, right? You're supposed to hear both sides of the matter.
Yep.
Now, we didn't hear both sides of Herod's matter. I mean, Herod's, you know, some things in the past there's nothing you can do to get another opinion about it. But man, some people, all they do is listen to Fox or CNN or MSNBC or ABC. Man, if you don't get both sides of that story, they can manipulate the mess out of you.
The same anyway. Same.
Oh, they're all saying different things. Because I watch both. And I've watched the original stuff. I seen Trump give a speech. I turned on CNN and they were like, oh, it's the devil. I was like, now you crazy talking. And then I turned on Fox. It was the greatest speech ever. Y'all talking crazy too. You're over here worshiping the cat and everything that comes out of his mouth, and you over here just hating on him because, yeah, everyone's twisting everything. And when you watch both, you can see that. If you don't watch both, you're over here like, oh, CNN they said on CNN, they said on Fox. Who cares?
So many are just regurgitating the same thing.
I posted this stuff before Trump was in office. I was posting videos on propaganda. And what I showed was like 30 different television stations. And all of them were saying the same exact words. It was all scripted.
What is, Project Mockingjay?
Yeah, yeah.
Project Mockingjay.
I don't even know that one.
They get their 5:30 a.m. scripts, and that's what they say.
Yeah, they're not real reporters.
Oh, yeah. And they're just saying the same thing.
Well, they're all owned by the same mom.
The number one money payer of most media for news is George Soros in this country. And as of 2022 in the summer, what was last year, Trump 2020 in the summer, George Soros took over Fox too. Oh, you missed it. Yes, there was a change, right? And so even when one time, what's her face was saying something about George Soros and she was interrupted live on air and I just happened to be watching it. I don't even watch it like that. Watching it live on air, like, oh, we can't say that anymore. What do you mean we can't say that no more? George Soros put an end to it.
But it makes sense that they would still want that to be like the right, because they still want to divide people.
Yes. Propaganda.
Well, it's not just that, but they make money off of them in this.
Right.
And Soros is about money. The bottom line is all about. money.
There's that guy, Andrew Tate, you ever heard of him?
Mhm.
He's like a rich
I'm about to
guy.
use you.
He's on, anyways, he's been very boisterous about, politics and everything, about what's, going on. And he says, they wanna put an end to it. And he said overnight, 30 media outlets overnight, all at the same time, had the same story. From Vienna, Austria, to Moscow, to Switzerland, to LA, to San Francisco, everybody had the same story on the second. It's all filtered by the same people, and they feed it. He says, if I'm not here tomorrow, you know why? You're gonna take me in.
That's why a lot of people now are saying things like, I'm not suicidal. I mean, they're literally saying it on air.
Intentionally.
So if they
Yeah.
come up gone,
I can tell you right now, I'm not suicidal.
I'm not
I'm not there. Yeah, we was like, I'm not suicidal. And people are playing with stuff. I'm not.
From Epstein.
That's the farthest thing from my reality is off my. That ain't never been part of my reality. That's not my.
well, like
That was
they-
not my thing.
They say the anti-vaxxers, the misinformation, those that are spreading, false narratives and, they're, silencing, they're trying to
I know
silence.
it's the anti-vax thing is ridiculous though, because I've never been anti-vax. I'm anti-vax in me. Let's get it clear. You ain't putting that junk in me. Can I have a full ingredients list? No, but then you ain't putting it in me.
They wanna make.
You're gonna shoot me up with turmeric and cinnamon and some clove. All right, let's do this. I mean, yeah, I'm not anti. I just want something good and healthy, right, Paul?
Well, I go to on Sundays and she told me, she said, well, I've had COVID 3 times. Twice from my son and once from, she didn't know where the third one was. She said, I've got 3 vaccines in me, boosters in between.
I hear that from people, but you know what they tell me? Imagine how bad it would be. I'd probably be dead if I wouldn't have had the boosters and the vax.
I'm just thinking what you're gonna be like in 20 years.
No, but they say.
They're gonna
at the
still be-
beginning,
The vax is saving me.
You will not get it at the beginning. They said,
Oh,
you
yeah.
will not get it. You will be saved from that.
And then if you had it once, you never did it again.
Very interesting, they actually said, no, this is not, this will just, you can still get it, but then people like our president and other prominent people started saying publicly, you're not gonna get it if you get this. So they knew from the very beginning. But then they wanted to deceive the people, because people have some level of intelligence, and they're like, well, that's I'm getting it, and I'm not sure about this, then I'll just take my chances. So then they had to start saying lies.
And covering up, some people are dying, and children are dying.
The first shutdown was only supposed to be for 2 weeks. Stay home for 2 weeks, just to smooth the
You
curve,
see what they're doing in China? Did you
flatten
see-
the curve.
you
Sorry.
see what was going on?
Recently,
The
or?
biggest, the biggest iPhone, factory, employed, I think it employed 200,000 workers.
Hmm.
And they, because they're still dealing with the shutdowns there, they thought that they were gonna get shut in the factories and not be able to leave. So about half of them fled. And they climbed over the security fences and split. And then the other people that were, the other employees that were there had to clean out their, rooms.
Hmm.
Because they left on a second's notice, they didn't take anything. So they took all their belongings and threw it out of the building. And it looks like Armageddon with all this trash around, it's just their clothes, but half of them split because they didn't wanna get quarantined anymore. It's going cuckoo with it.
Look, there's a lot of professional athletes that have died because they've taken the jab, but they're covering up.
And did you see DeSantis basically said it's not legal to give men from a certain age group, young men, cannot have the vaccine because cement.
Spot Shalom Kadesha.
For the what?
We love you too.
Yeah, young people my age were dying of heart attack,
Yeah, myocarditis.
healthy people.
But especially young men, women too, especially. So.
Heart attack, it might have goes.
And sudden, unexplained death syndrome has become a thing.
Adult, sudden death syndrome.
Yeah, don't, yeah, yeah.
Unexplained. Yeah, no explanation, what could it be?
The nanotech circuit board didn't work. That's what that is.
A lot of people are now.
My YouTube video may get flagged after this, but I don't care.
Seizures, tremors, neurological.
Words.
It's at the end of it's at the end of multiple hours of work. They're not gonna watch the whole thing. Trina,
They don't watch it, they run it through a computer.
Trina, you want do the blessing? He's gone.
Oh, Julie, wait for Julie.
Oh, yeah, we can wait. So in my head, someone had left, but Kadesha left. That's what happened.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, hi. Hi.
Do you wanna come up and do a blessing?
No. Are you sure you can be famous?
On the big screen.
So when you do the blessing,
Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
you're on the recording.
Oh, you're recording this?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but you know.
Get some water.
Yeah, that would work out.
Too well.
He's gonna do the
Oh, you're still standing?
blessing on the day. She back there? Oh, wait, we don't wanna do it without her. We got less than an hour.
So we just wanna clean up before we go?
Eat, clean up and go. I'm sure someone's gonna be hungry.
So we don't have to come back super late and clean up. Let's just remove it.
David, you're not going though, are you? I didn't think so. You're gonna take care of this. I figured that would be a long day for you and a little much.
Yeah, no, I,
And you can't do the movies like that anyway.
it was even longer today. Anyway. Cause I started out. Yeah, I'm not. I'm anti.
That'll probably be loud. too.
Oh,
Or this one.
can't do it.
Yeah, last one wasn't really loud. I think you could have done the last one.
That's,
Okay, but.
I would have fallen asleep. Honestly. I
Oh,
would've-
did you?
Huh? You did?
That's when I really started
What's
getting
amazing
excited.
is Brian did that.
It's a little dry.
Oh.
Yeah, I would, with the noise. Can't use the noise. I went to go, years ago, I saw the movie Vampire. And, it was so loud. I got very sensitive.
Oh, my gosh.
It was so loud.
Who's that from?
I put
I don't know.
toilet paper in my ears and I still complaining to me. And it literally hurt me. And after that, I said, I'll never be back to a movie theater. If I can't watch it, I'll watch it at home or whatever, but I'm not going back. I'm not gonna do it.
Because now you can feel it shake
Oh,
the seat.
my, yeah, I can't.
And now you just go there to buy coffee.
Now I go there, I eat.
And the 64 ounce soda.
Underneath.
You like to pay the
Is that
Disneyland prices.
I don't know, we're waiting on him.
Julie?
Yeah. Let, let, area. There's my grand.
That's the one I couldn't get at the end. And it was interesting, but they had like a panel where they were just discussing questions at the end, and that was just too much. You're reclined, and I just fell asleep.
I was on Paul's hours last night. I didn't go to bed till 3. I thought about you at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Never drinking, got a machine, $2,000.
Oh, that's,
Water.
I took a picture of it.
It's helping me, and I was kind of tired, I didn't know how, if it gives you almost instant energy, it helps.
My,
That's what I need.
my sister was just talking about that thing. That, ionized water.
Yeah.
How
It's lying.
healthy it is for you. It rejuvenates everything in your body. But it's got a price tag to it.
It's got a price, it's got a very hefty price. It was something
Anything
he
that
wanted to
promotes
do,
health.
and he did it, so.
Aqua Ionizer Pro.
Trina? You
Yeah,
ready?
don't they have, where you can soak your feet? Isn't that what happens when you,
Magnets.
what is it?
A bath. It's called a bath.
But then it's about all the impurities.
Yeah.
Smart ass.
It's
Not
been
allowed to
shown
cook.
that some-
They would already kick you out
But
like
it
an
was
hour
not
ago.
what it was.
Then it'll change the color of the water.
There's
Like
like
have a push card that says different colors. maybe
Yeah,
ones from
but
different
it's not
materials.
necessarily real.
Really? I haven't looked into it like that.
Yeah, there's always gimmicks out there.
Yeah,
You ready?
I think so. Are you ready?
Been ready.
Okay. Don't mind us.
Can we see Trina, everybody? Okay, we can see them.
Lift
Signal
your eyes
clear.
unto the hills from whence cometh your help. Your help comes from Yahweh, the nation. So it's him. Hallelujah. Father, we thank you for your word today. You've just been so, so good to us. You're so awesome. We love you. Thank you for your blessing upon our lives. You're with us. You never leave us. You never forsake us, but you're with us even unto the end. Thank you for your word today that has just blessed us. Pray that your word just take root in our lives and just continue to help us walk it out and to walk this life of faith. In Yeshua's name, may Yehovah bless you and keep you. May Yehovah cause his face to shine upon you. May he be gracious to you, lift up his countenance upon you, and give you his shalom on his side. Yeshua HaMashiach. Yivarechka Yehovah, Yael Yehovah, Panav Yilcha V'Yuneka, Isa Yehovah, Panav Yilcha, Shalom. Thank you for staying on.
Shavua Tov, everyone.
We name unto